Hello, everyone. We're going to open our meeting, the regular meeting of the Quincy School Committee meeting for April 8th. That's today's date. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit this meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Superintendent, could we please call the roll?
Mr. Begoli. Present. Mrs. Cahill.
Present.
Ms. Campbell.
Present.
Mrs. Hubley.
Present.
Mr. Leung. Present. Mrs. Perdios.
Present.
And Mayor Cook. Quincy High School Student Representative Mishti Malavia. Thank you. And North Quincy High School Student Representative Louisa Bayenzi. Thank you both.
Thank you, Superintendent. Could we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Superintendent, I believe we have one more.
Thank you. Yes, we do have one memoriam tonight. If you could please keep in your thoughts and prayers Richard Forsythe, a former employee of the Quincy Public Schools. Richard was an automotive teacher at Quincy Vocational Technical School for 28 years. Again, if you could keep Richard and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have open forum. This is an opportunity for community input regarding the Quincy Public Schools. Community in this context is defined as a resident of the city of Quincy, a non-resident parent of a student who attends the Quincy Public Schools, or a non-resident employee of the Quincy Public Schools. After giving his or her name and address, the speaker may make a presentation of no more than 3 minutes to the school committee. An individual may not exchange their time or yield to others. Do we have anyone for open forum? Please come forward.
Short, sorry. Hi, my name's Gina Favada, Fenno Street, 151 Fenno Street in Quincy. Obviously, because here I am. I come here today as a QPS parent to voice my unwavering support for Lunar New Year to be included as a school holiday. Over the past few years, there has been much debate about this topic, and I've listened to members of this committee discuss their reasons for voting yes or no. I've also listened to the strong arguments for this holiday from many community members who have stood before you. I've listened closely to what they have to say. Even though Lunar New Year is not a part of my cultural tradition, and honestly, I've learned a lot about the holiday and about the culture of my neighbors. I hope you are listening too, truly listening to understand, not just defend your own made-up mind. I'm on my tiptoes here. Sorry. So I want to just put it out there that it is okay to change your mind based on new information and facts. Digging in your heels because of your initial assessment of a situation is not necessary. We ask our kids to have a growth mindset, to think constructively. But as we get older, it becomes so much easier to become stubborn. I'm guilty of this too. But you are allowed to change your mind. No one will think less of you, and if they do, that is their problem. There's a lot of emotion tied up in this issue. People are passionate, but to make a decision as a committee, you can strip away the emotion and just look at the facts. You can decide to use data instead of anecdotal evidence. We can all find someone to confirm our beliefs, but the data stands on its own. There is this worry by certain people that this will become a slippery slope, and everyone will want their cultural holidays off. But once again, that is approaching the issue with emotion. Let's use the numbers instead. According to the Department of Ed, 39.3% of our student body is Asian. I understand that not everyone in that 39% celebrates Lunar New Year, but even if you drop that down by a full 10%, say, and I think that's probably way too big of a drop, it is a large percentage of our student body. So to take out emotion and feeling, to just look at the numbers, it would be the logical thing to say that once a group reaches a certain threshold, their most important holiday is added. We are well beyond the tipping point for our Asian community. It is time to recognize their prominence and how much vibrance they add to Quincy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. My name is Brian Palmucci, 16 Cross Street. I'm a Quincy public school parent, former school committee member, and current associate justice of the district court, but I'm not here in those capacities tonight. I'm here in capacity as a resident of Quincy who chooses to respect their neighbors' traditions. I urge you to adopt the Lunar New Year as a holiday. I will say that I know almost each and every one of you personally. I thank you for the service that you perform for the city. It's not an easy job. I can't believe that you guys have open forum and you just let anybody talk at your meetings. Crazy concept to me. I understand the city council is going to do that. Good luck to them. But anyways, I think Lunar New Year, it's important to recognize as a holiday in our school system, because schools are not just places of instruction. They're where we signal what matters, what's valued, who is seen. Recognition is not a finite resource. It's not something that must be divided or rationed. It's like justice in that way. When we recognize the importance of Lunar New Year to the thousands of residents of Quincy, we're not diminishing anything for anyone else or to anyone else. We're strengthening the fabric of our entire community by ensuring that more people feel seen within it. No one has to lose something for others to gain something. And this isn't about comparing holidays or ranking traditions. The question is not which holiday is more important. The question is whether a given holiday is important to the people of Quincy and enough for the people of Quincy. And I suggest to you respectfully that the Lunar New Year is. And there's a broader principle at work here too, one that goes to the role of government itself. Government makes choices all the time about what to recognize, what to elevate, and what to formalize into law and policy. Those choices should reflect the people it governs. And when they do not, the law can feel distant. When they do, the law reinforces legitimacy and trust among the people that are governed. In our city, on our elected boards, and on our public employees in the jobs, this community doesn't necessarily reflect its members. And that's not a knock on anything the city does. It's just a reality. And this is about recognizing the reality of Quincy. So when we have opportunities like this one, I suggest we take it to show that we respect the Asian members of our community. I know, and I've seen all of you who have been up here vote. I've seen and take action. I've seen the administration take action above and beyond what other communities do in terms of recognizing minority populations in Quincy. What we do in terms of language access, I think
Time is almost up.
Okay, thank you. I don't like that. All right. But you've all taken many votes and done many things to make this a more welcoming community, and I thank you for that. I ask.
Sorry, your time's up.
All right. I ask that you do that again.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather Downey, and I live at 912 Southern Artery. And what I have to say today is for my kids who love to celebrate Lunar New Year, and one of whom is a Quincy public school student. Quincy public schools are at least 40% Asian, so it's fair to say Asian families are an important part of this tax base, this school system, and this community. Lunar New Year is as important to Asian culture as Christmas Day is to Western culture, and it's time that we begin to treat it that way. I know we do in my family. If someone said Christmas can't be a holiday because some people have to work, how would you feel? Would you feel like your family and your holiday and your culture were respected, or that you were being treated like second-class citizens? As I understand it, many people, starting with students themselves, have been asking for this and being told no for nearly 5 years, my kindergartner's whole lifetime. I hope this is the year that the gatekeeping stops and it gets passed. But what if you knew that some members of this body who've been refusing to approve the most important Asian culture holiday for nearly half of their students also belong to and participate in a public Facebook group where people regularly talk about one kind of heritage and make comments along the lines of, Trump sending ICE, get the Chinese food before you can't? Would you feel a no vote by such people represented the needs of this city and our diverse body of students, or blatantly prioritize the lives and desires and heritage of some people over others? Again, I bring this up because my children and nobody else's children should have to feel like a culture they and so many others in the city belong to, a holiday they love, is unimportant or disrespected or kicked to the wayside. We should all be able to give them better than that. So thank you for listening to me tonight. Please consider all the reasons why Lunar New Year should be a school holiday, and please make it happen for our kids. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Emmons, and I live at 51 Marlborough Street. I am also a teacher in Quincy Public Schools and a parent of a future Quincy Public Schools student. I want to start by saying that my husband is from Korea, so I have had the beautiful honor of celebrating the Lunar New Year in his home country, and it is one of the most deeply meaningful experiences I've had in my life. We hiked the mountains to visit the graves of his ancestors. And on the way there, one of the things that I saw that actually brought me to tears was I saw in the snow the prints of the people who were there before us who had already bowed to the ancestors in front of the mounds in the cemetery. And that was very moving to see. It's a very spiritual holiday, and it's very deep. And it's celebrated differently across different cultures, but one thing I can tell you is it's celebrated with family, and that is one of the most important things. I want to be sure that this school committee understands what we do here is not exceptional. And I understand that a lot of people see it as that because Quincy has gone without for so long. But providing interpreters and ensuring that we have ESL teachers, those have been a part of federal law since 1974 when Lau versus Nichols was passed, and 2000 when George W. Bush gave an executive order that demanded that any institution that receives federal funding provides interpreters and translations. But those were historic moments in US history, and I hope that tonight we have a historic moment in Quincy history, because tonight, with the support of 8,000 voters, we have our first Asian American on the school committee, and we have the votes to make this happen. And it's not too late to be on the right side of the history of Quincy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Don Mercado, and I live at 16 Lawrence Street. I come before you not just, as an adult, but I come here before you guys as a student at Quincy Public Schools, but not only a student, but as class president. As class president, I see the necessity in regards to making Lunar New Year a recognized holiday in the official Quincy Public Schools. Around me, I go to school with so much diversity. In fact, I think it's one of my favorite things about Quincy. And one of my favorite things about being class president, a role that I've held for over 3 years now, is that I have the privilege of representing my class in school policy reform. And one of my most important things that I've learned during my role is that the only way we can rightfully encourage and foster the diversity that we hold at our schools is that we have to integrate our culture into our school policy reform, especially within Quincy Public Schools. The fact is, and I'm sure that you guys have heard this all night, is that right down the street in Quincy High, over 24% of our students identify as Asian. And over at North Quincy, right down the road, approximately 57% of students are Asian. I believe that the purpose of this committee and student council and many of our elected bodies here in Quincy is to represent not only the students, but its people. And if Lunar New Year is not properly recognized and as an observed holiday, this means that our culture, our very livelihood, and our very representation of ourselves is not being represented to the extent of the committee's power. I ask before you guys to vote, and I think that your vote very much matters in this instance because it represents not only me, but many others at Quincy who believe and celebrate Lunar New Year and love it and enjoy it just as much as you guys love Christmas. So, thank you.
Next, please come on up.
Hi, the speaker's name is Jiaodi Chen. She lives at 20 Elm Avenue, and we respectfully ask for more time for interpretation and access. And as the speaker's going to speak in Mandarin, and I'll interpret.
大家晚上好，我叫陈周地，
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jiaodi Chen.
我住在昆西大约有8年了，从2018年来到美国。
I've lived in Quincy for about 8 years, since 2018. That's when I immigrated to the United States.
我很喜欢住在昆西，靠近华人的社区。
I love living in Quincy, close to my community, Chinese American community in Quincy.
大家都可以同声同气，有事互相帮忙，有归属的感觉。
We speak the same language, understand each other, have a sense of belonging because of this beautiful community.
大家明白大家的文化，中国的文化传统，互相沟通。
We can communicate and understand each other's culture and respect each other's tradition, and that's really important.
农历新年初一，对我们中国华人社区是很大的日子。
The first day of Lunar New Year is a significant holiday in the Chinese American community.
移民来到美国之后，不能跟以前一样的庆祝。
Since immigrating to the U.S., it's not like it's been, it's different from what it's been like before when in China, when there would be huge celebrations.
但我们一家人都会喜欢尊重中国传统。
But to preserve our culture, my family would still get together, would preserve some of our customs and have dinner and meals together.
一起吃饭庆祝。我的女儿和3个儿子都住在昆西，在昆西学校读书。
My daughter live in Quincy. My 3 grandchildren are Quincy Public School students.
我们来到美国之后，很少有机会学习和保留华人传统的文化。
Since immigrating to the United States, it's rare that we get to have this opportunity to celebrate our culture, learn about these customs from the next generation, to get to celebrate.
下一代很快就会忘记我们的习俗。
I feel worried that my grandkids, the next generation, is going to forget these customs.
我希望通过农历新年初一为学校假期，
I hope that you support Lunar New Year as a school holiday,
让小孩子们有机会学习和纪念这一天。
so that our kids, our students, grandkids can learn about these traditions, what matters to our community, and why we celebrate this day.
也支持我们社区保留我们的中国文化传统。
To support our community coming together and preserve our sense of belonging with our customs and with our culture.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, school committee members, friends and neighbors. My name is Bill Allen. I live at 39 Mayflower Road in Quincy. I'm here to speak in favor of designating the Lunar New Year as a school holiday in Quincy. I spoke to several of my friends and neighbors that live in Quincy about this issue. In fact, I spoke to 7 so I could get a standard deviation. Everyone I spoke with was in favor of designating Lunar New Year as a school holiday in Quincy. It's a fair thing to do. It's an equitable thing to do. This is about representative democracy. The Asian students are 40% of the school population. And their parents hold them back from school on the Lunar New Year. So it's conserving resources to designate this as a school holiday. As Americans, we assimilate the smartest people and the best customs from all countries over the world, all over the world. This makes us smarter and a stronger country. I urge you to vote in favor of designating the Lunar New Year as a school holiday. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
This is open forum. Thank you. Next speaker, please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Winnie Huang, and I live on 54 Yardham Lane. I'm here today to support recognizing Lunar New Year as an official holiday in the Quincy Public Schools calendar. As the secretary of the Student Ambassadors Program at Quincy High School, an initiative that focuses on creating a welcoming environment for new students and fostering the diverse culture of our school, I recognize that a large portion of my community is formed by Asian students. Like many of the others said, 40% of QPS students identify as Asian Americans, which is not surprising because the city of Quincy has the second highest numbers of Asian residents in Massachusetts, approximately 30% of the population. As students, we're often told that school policies are supposed to support the people they serve. But right now, Lunar New Year puts many students in the position of choosing between being present at school and being present with their families on one of the most important days of the year. That's not a choice that our students should have to make. As someone who grew up celebrating Lunar New Year over multiple days, I've experienced firsthand how difficult it can be to balance school responsibilities with being present for traditions that only happen once a year. I've had to plan around assignments, miss parts of celebrations, or worry about what I would miss in class while my family gathered together. I know many of the other students share that same experience. Recognizing one day of Lunar New Year on the school calendar would make a meaningful difference, not just for me, but for many students across the district. It would show that our traditions are respected by our schools and bring the calendar in alignment with the lived experiences of the students it serves. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susanna Liu. I live at 37 Wren Terrace. I am a lifelong resident of Quincy, went through the Quincy Public Schools, Montclair, Central, North Quincy, and I'm also a parent of 2 future Quincy Public Schools students. So this is my first school committee meeting. I did not come here expecting to speak, but just merely to listen. But after hearing so many of my neighbors speak up on our behalf, I just felt like I had to stand up and say something. So I didn't come prepared with numbers or counter arguments, but really I'm just so moved that so many of our neighbors feel the same way, especially those who don't celebrate Lunar New Year. I think it made me feel so seen and acknowledged that I've never had before, even having lived in Quincy for so long. So if Lunar New Year as a school holiday has passed, I feel like it's a very, very strong message to such a huge proportion of the population. And the message is that you are welcome, you're seen, you are a part of the community, your culture matters, and if you are a part of what Quincy community is so beautifully multicultural. So thank you, neighbors, and please, committee, if you can, would love for you to vote for Lunar New Year to be a public school holiday. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Virginia Liu Compton. I live at 39 Turning Mill Lane in Quincy. I also was not planning on speaking today, so I don't have really anything prepared. First, I just want to say thank you to our neighbors who this might be not be part of your culture, and you came prepared with numbers, even removing emotions from it. For me, this is very deeply emotional. I am a lifelong member of Quincy. I've attended Quincy School, and I've never lived anywhere else, basically, and I have 2 small children who will be entering the Quincy school system in the next couple years. I think I lived in Quincy from the time when the Asian population was much smaller than what it is today. And I know what it's like to not feel seen in school and not have a holiday that for my family, which is bigger than Christmas. So as I think previously mentioned, in China, the Lunar New Year or Spring Festival, people get 2 weeks off from work, business, and schools, much like it is over Christmas time here. And, sorry, being the first generation of American-born, my parents, I don't think, struggled as much to maintain or pass on traditions. But with small children today, myself, I find myself struggling even more to not only continually educate myself about my heritage, but also finding ways to pass it on to my children. And it's disheartening to me sometimes that when I look for resources to support this cause for my kids in Quincy, I see many more programs in other neighboring cities having it. And Quincy being my home for so long, with such a large Asian population, I would really hope to see this change and to see our neighbors and everyone kind of support this. And so I know that there are reasons, maybe that this might not make sense, but I think even with all of the difficulties or challenges to implement this, I think it's very worthwhile, especially given the number of Asians from my generation who are now raising kids in Quincy. I struggle to balance their Celtic heritage and their Asian heritage and kind of making sure that everything gets passed on as best as possible and kind of fulfilling my responsibility of holding on to my own heritage as an American-born Chinese. So sorry if that wasn't very coherent, but that's what I have. Thank you for listening.
Next speaker, please come on up.
Hi, my name is Jessica Tan, and I am a sophomore at Quincy High School. I'm here to speak in support of recognizing Lunar New Year as an official day on our school calendar. And I'm absolutely terrified to be speaking right now, but I know that this is something that I value a lot, so that's why I'm here. For me, Lunar New Year is one of the most important times of the year. It's when I get to be with my family and spend time with them, and it's one of really like the only times that we can all come together like that and celebrate. But as a student who plays sports and is in band, I'm constantly flooded with schoolwork, homework, assignments, and tests. And that doesn't stop just because it's an important cultural holiday. And sometimes instead of fully being present, I find myself worrying about what I have due, what I might miss, or what I'll have to make up. Lunar New Year is supposed to be a time for families to come together, to share traditions, and to connect across generations. But when school is still in session, it sometimes becomes stressful instead of meaningful. Our district already recognizes other holidays, which shows a commitment to respecting different cultures and beliefs. But when Lunar New Year isn't included, it can feel like our traditions and students like me are being overlooked. No student should have to choose between their education and meaningful time with their family. Recognizing Lunar New Year would give students like me the opportunity to fully celebrate, to be present with our families, and to truly appreciate the culture that shapes who we are without the burden of schoolwork. This change would mean more than just a day off. It would mean being seen, respected, and valued. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker, please come on up.
Hi, my name is Luis. I've been a long time resident of Quincy.
Address, please.
90 East Quantum Street.
Thank you.
Sorry. It's my first time speaking in a forum like this, and I wanted to give some context as to why I decided to come today. I've seen the struggle of bringing this holiday over, and just the struggle that the community has had. I have a large Asian friend circle, and often all of them mention how they feel excluded just because it's not Lunar New Year is not a holiday. And to give a little bit of extra context, it's been a while since I've been in high school. I think it's been 10 years. But I do remember that a lot of my classes were majority Asian students. I went down to Quincy High School. And those days that the holiday was around and a lot of students had to decide whether they showed up or not, sometimes the classrooms were half empty. And there's not much you can do when you consider that they need to balance their family and their classwork. If it was my position, I would also choose to be with my family. And I do feel that Quincy, as a large Asian community, the city just doesn't seem to fully want to adapt to that change. And as someone who's not Asian, I would be happy if the city decided to consider that as a holiday. The city's still evolving. I think we can evolve with our residents. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Judy Brahms, 273 Adams Street. I would like to just echo what everyone else has said, and I want to say thank you in advance because I believe you're going to put an H on the holiday for this year's calendar. But looking forward to the next year, I think we owe this community a lot of respect. And this issue has been going on for a long time. I'm going to go back in history to something that happened to my family and me before some of you were born. I'm Jewish, my family is Jewish, and nobody here was involved. For many years, meetings were scheduled on our high holidays. No thought, no respect was given, even though the Jewish community was much smaller than the Asian community. And 20-odd years later that my children have been out of school, it still sticks in my craw. So I would just ask you to think about something like that happens in respect to our Asian community, and I hope you will vote to make Lunar New Year a holiday. Thank you.
Hello, members of the school committee. My name is Joshua Chen, and I live at 58 Taylor Street. As the sophomore vice president at Quincy High School, I recognize the importance of Lunar New Year in our Quincy community. With a huge part of our student population identifying as Asian American, this holiday is a meaningful time to gather and celebrate. These traditions are equivalent to Christmas Day or Thanksgiving, and is a chance for students to learn more about their own culture and heritage. As a Chinese American myself, I find these celebrations a huge part of my personal identity. The purpose of this committee is to recognize its student body and furthermore, encourage and foster the beauty of diversity in our city. I hope you take these thoughts into consideration and vote to make Lunar New Year a school-designated holiday. Thank you.
Next speaker, please come on up.
Hi, Quincy School Committee members. My name is Alice Liang. I am a teacher at the Parker Elementary School. I don't reside in Quincy, so I'm a non-resident QPS teacher. I am speaking tonight to express my support of Quincy Public Schools adding Lunar New Year as an observed holiday in the 26-27 school calendar. Lunar New Year is one of the most significant holidays in the Asian American community. Every year, I, along with many of our Asian American staff and students, have to make the difficult choice of being absent from our school responsibilities or celebrating this holiday with our family. Lunar New Year is a time when families close the old year and usher in the new year. It is when loved ones gather to celebrate and observe traditional customs. Immediate families come together for a special feast that takes days to prepare. So to me, it's like our Thanksgiving meal, where it's time for family reunion, celebration, and reflection. So my children receive red envelopes and sweets, do arts and crafts, play games with family. I would bring my children to visit our extended family. It is the only time of the year when they get to visit their grand aunts and uncles and many of their cousins around the state. Other cities around the U.S. are starting to appreciate the importance of this holiday to their Asian American communities and declared it a public school holiday. More recently, in 2020, Brookline, the city of Brookline, which has a percentage of Asian residents half the size of Quincy, has declared Lunar New Year a public holiday. So many of the speakers earlier have also mentioned the Quincy's Asian American population. All of these families make significant contributions to the local community and economic growth of the city. In the town of Sharon, where I live, we have a big Jewish community. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, both important holidays to the Jewish community, are observed as a holiday in our school calendar, and there is no school on both days. I hope our great city, the city of Quincy, will lead by example and do the same in making Lunar New Year a public school holiday so that the many Asian American families in Quincy and the rest of Massachusetts can celebrate with their families. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else for open forum? If anyone else for open forum, please come up to the podium. Open forum once. Okay, this portion of the meeting is closed. My stopwatch break. Okay, So this part of the meeting called open forum is not an opportunity for our board to respond to anything that was said, just so people have set expectations. And also to set expectations, our agenda does not have any votes on it tonight. This is for discussion. So anybody who read the Patriot Ledger and thought we're having a vote tonight, it was not correct. So with that, I would ask for a motion to, at this time, take the CTVE Student of the Year out of order to bring now. Motion by Mrs. Cahill, second by Ms. Campbell. All in favor? We need a roll call.
I know, all in favor?
All in favor?
opposed?
Say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Ayes have it. Mr. Sagala, please take it away.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hubley, and good evening, members of the school committee. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. Tonight, we celebrate and honor Quincy's 2026 Outstanding Career and Technical Education Student of the Year. You'll also hear from two amazing students who were also nominated for this distinct award. These students not only represent the 1,300-plus vocational students in our district, but represent the very best of career and technical education in Quincy. Special thanks to Principal Dan Gilbert, North Quincy High School, and Keith Ford, Principal of Quincy High School. Our CT department chairs, Marianne Collins, North Quincy High, and Jill Bernardo, Quincy High School. Also, special thanks to our 35 committed and dedicated professionals who share their expertise in their CT program every day. Instructors provide the necessary skills, the necessary knowledge and skills so their students are successful beyond high school, including the workforce, post-secondary education, the trades, and/or military service. I'd like to welcome and thank our CT instructors here this evening, Laurie Broughton and Elizabeth Murphy, Quincy High healthcare instructors, as well as Craig Moore, automotive technology instructors. At this time, I want to welcome John Dunn, Inventory Planning Manager at Boston Scientific. Boston Scientific is a leading partner of the Quincy School Community Partnership. John was one of the 8 partners who served on the interviewing team. Mr. Dunn will share our recent partnership initiatives, highlight the interview process, and include some personal experiences. John?
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Boston Scientific, I'd like to thank you for having me here tonight. We are proud to be a part of this event and proud to support Quincy Public Schools. So our partnership with Quincy Public Schools involves executive level sponsorship. We've been involved in interview panels as well as served as science and STEM fair judges and conducted mock interviews with students. We've also most recently participated in the career fair, and we are in the works of planning a job fair at North Quincy and Quincy High School. We are also planning to have any students interested in learning more about Boston Scientific come on site and visit our Quincy Distribution Center, where they could see how a state-of-the-art global medical device distribution center operates. All right, so getting into how the interview process worked, the selection criteria consisted of the student had to have at least a 3.5 grade average. They had to show technical competence, have excellent attendance, demonstrate strong leadership qualities, and be involved in extracurricular activities and community service. Also, be a recipient of the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship. So CTE teachers nominated students deserving of this award and forwarded their names to Quincy selection team. After reviewing student qualifications, the field was narrowed down to 9 nominees. Students were interviewed by members of the Quincy School Community Partnership, which included a diverse group of local businesses and corporations that brought real-world experience to the evaluation process. Nominees were questioned about their career, major skills learned, credentials earned, and contributions made to their high school and community, as well as post-graduation plans. In addition, nominees demonstrated their technical competence by sharing a slide or video presentation in their major. So overall, it was a great experience being a part of that event and being on the interview panel. Students showed a strong passion for the skills that they learned in that CTE program. And kudos to Quincy Public Schools for having such a great program, and kudos to Keith for putting on such a great event. And with that, I'll pass it over to the student.
Alumni, and my career pathway is automotive technology. I decided to enroll in the automotive technology program because when I was a freshman, I knew that I wanted to work in a hands-on environment. I just didn't know what. But during freshman seminar class, I was able to spend time in automotive, and it was exactly what I was looking for. I loved learning about how something we use every day actually works and how I can fix it when it breaks. Skills and knowledge obtained during automotive technology was the use of diagnostic scanners, vehicle lifts, power tools, as well as welding and DC circuitry, along with basic vehicle maintenance such as oil changes, tire rotations, and fluid levels, and equipment safety and shop cleanliness. Some work-based learning initiatives in my pathway is live work experience, doing basic automotive repair like brakes, oil changes, tire rotations, and fluid levels. My personal employment experience is I work at Quirk Auto Dealers as a lube technician on Saturdays from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., where I do basic automotive repair, and I'm a teacher's assistant in our automotive technology class, number 1. My certifications and credentials were I obtained my OSHA 10 certification in general industry and my certificate of occupational proficiency in automotive technology. My future plans are I intend to go to Mass Bay Community College in the fall, and my major being Toyota Lexus to pursue a career in automotive technology, and I will be showing you my boat restoration project. The goal was to take an old abandoned boat and fix what was broken and improve what had already worked. When I received the boat, the paint was peeling off and the steering and throttle were stuck and inoperable, and there was no engine. The process for restoring this boat were removing all of the hardware and moving parts, sanding down and repainting it, and combining the 3 working parts of an engine and turning it into one working engine, including removing and rebuilding the carburetor, then wiring it to a starting system which was converted into an electric system by adding/rebuilding the motor and solenoid. With using Ohm's law, I designed and wired a 12-volt system, including DC lighting, engine circuitry, and audio, a radio, and fabricating a custom box for a new battery. And you may be thinking, Molly, I thought you were taking automotive. A lot of the systems in the boat and the engine are very similar to a regular automotive engine. They're just slightly smaller, and the battery I used to power this boat is actually a motorcycle battery. So that's, yeah. You'll see on the left that this is what the boat looked like before it had been refurbished, and then on the right is all of the work that I've done to it. You can see the engine being added and repainting. One of the challenges I faced during this project was there is a rubber rail that goes around the edge of the boat, keeping the 2 halves together so water doesn't seep through, and I had to remove it to be able to paint the boat, but because of aging, the rail had shrunk and it didn't fit onto the boat anymore, so I had to use a heat gun and stretch out the rail to get it to fit back on the boat and the nails to be put back in their original spot. I learned that there's always a way around a problem if you have the right tools and ideas to do so. My boat was also featured in the Quincy High School's play, The Women of Troy, so that's also a fun fact about it. These are some pictures of the boat. Another image of the old boat, the inner workings of the engine, and then on the far left, or the far right, is the wiring system and the
battery box, which I had welded together and installed in the boat for protection against water. Any questions?
Does it work?
It does run, but it hasn't been tested in the
You
water
have to
yet.
test it. Yeah, that's great. Great project. Thank you. That's awesome. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Emily Infantino. I'm a senior at North Quincy High School. I am an alumni of Parker Elementary School and Atlantic Middle School. My career pathway is early education and care. I chose it because my passion for teaching began during my elementary school years, where being engaged in class brought me joy, curiosity, and a love of learning. Those experiences showed me the importance of positive classroom environment and inspired me to create the same experience for young children. Skills and knowledge that I have obtained include child development/developmental milestones, early childhood education theories, developmentally appropriate practices, curriculum and instruction, lesson planning and activity design, classroom management, and observation and assessment. Work-based learning initiatives I have experienced through my program are my Bernazani Elementary School clinical placement, where I aid the teacher in her lesson plans as well as interact with the children and observe the children. During my junior year, I had my placement at Campus Kinderhouse, where I also did the same things like helping the teacher with her lessons, interacting with the children, and observing the children. I am currently employed at Inspire Child Care Center, where I am a teacher assistant, and I do the same things like at my clinical, but I also help with the lessons, interact with the children, and observe the children. With all of this included, I am also president of my early childhood education club. Certifications and credentials that I have received through my program include CPR/AED and first aid for adult, children, and infants. My 51A mandated reporter training, my career safe/general OSHA, my Massachusetts EEC Strong Start training, and expected July 2026, I will receive my Massachusetts EEC preschool/toddler teacher certification, as well as my certificate of occupational proficiency in early education and care. My future plans include attending the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where I will major in elementary education to hopefully pursue a career in elementary school as an elementary school teacher for K through 6, preferably teaching in a kindergarten classroom. My project presentation is a mock representation of a child development assessment and instructional response. This is early education and care for a preschooler age 4. This is the child profile. He is 4 years old and 3 months. Setting is an inclusive preschool classroom. His strengths are social interaction and cognitive skills, and his area of need will be fine motor development. This is a Massachusetts guideline of physical development and health checklist that I would use on an assessment for physical development. So he uses his fingers and hands with increasing control, which was checked as emerging, uses scissors to cut along a line, checked as not observed yet, as well as holding writing tools with development control, which was checked as emerging, and he manipulates objects like beads and laces not yet observed. Developmental domains that will be assessed were physical development, cognitive development, and social emotional development. These would be the Massachusetts guidelines for preschool learning experiences standards that would be referenced, like physical development, which would include fine motor control and hand strength and coordination. Approaches to play and learning, including persistence and engagement, and social emotional development, including self-regulation. The assessment findings were difficulty with cutting and writing tools, emerging tripod grasp, and limited endurance during fine motor tasks. Instructional strategies that would be used to help this child develop would be Play-Doh hand strengthening activities, cutting practice with increasing complexity, as well as lacing cards for finger control and focus. Progress monitoring would include an ongoing observation, more work samples, increased task persistence, as well as collaboration with families and staff as needed. Any questions? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Leah Gomes. I am honored to be selected as Quincy Public Schools 2026 Outstanding Career and Technical Student of the Year. I am a Quincy High School senior and an alumni at Clifford Marshall Elementary School and Point Webster Middle School. My career pathway is healthcare technology, and I chose it because I always wanted to do something in healthcare, but I didn't want to be a doctor or a nurse. But the QHS Healthcare Technology program opened my eyes to various other careers in the industry, and I have fallen in love with the career of ultrasound. Skills and knowledge I've obtained through my career pathway are body mechanics, monitoring and recording food intake, activities of daily living, bed making, vital signs, range of motion, giving bed baths, oral care, safety education, time management, effective communication, and leadership skills. Some work-based learning initiatives were my clinical placement experience at Hancock Park Rehabilitation Center, where we would give bed baths to residents, feeding and distribution of their food trays, and also transferring patients to other diagnostics on the floor. Certifications and credentials I have earned are basic life support, like CPR and AED training and first aid for adult children and infants, dementia and Alzheimer's training, Stop the Bleed, Career Safe / OSHA 10 training. And on Saturday, I will be testing for my certified nursing assistant exam, which will then lead to becoming a certified home health aide. And then upon graduation, I will receive my certificate of occupational proficiency in healthcare technology. My future plans are to attend Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences in the fall with a major in diagnostic medical sonography to then pursue a career as an ultrasound technician. And my project presentation is on infection prevention. Why infection prevention matters. What if one habit in a school hallway could prevent an illness in a long-term care facility? As high school students going to clinical placement, we are working with a very susceptible population that is very vulnerable. So we always have to make sure that whatever we do inside of our clinical site is making sure that the residents are not put at risk for getting any diseases that we might bring from school. And accidents can happen, as many transmission pathways are through direct contact, which is saliva and respiratory droplets, like coughing or sneezing into the air, or indirect contact, like contaminated hands and sharing objects, like when you give your coworker a high five, or self-inoculation, touching your eyes, your nose, or your mouth. That may happen in people who don't think that they're doing anything wrong. The Center of Disease Control, also known as the CDC, provided these evidence-based prevention strategies, like hand washing for more than 20 seconds shows a 99.5% chance of germs being removed when washing your hands for 20 seconds with soap. And using an alcohol-based hand sanitizer that has at least 60% alcohol kills 99.9% of germs. And coughing into your elbow decreases the area of germ spread by 59.6% compared to an uncovered cough. And avoiding sharing personal items 100% decreases the risk of infection being passed from you to somebody else or somebody else to you. As a CNA in training, about to get my CNA license, hand washing is actually one of the mandatory skills that we must learn. And there are proper steps in order to properly wash your hands, so I'm here to share it with you today. First, we start by turning on the faucet to warm up the water, and then start by wetting your hands. And then you'll pump soap into your hands and make sure to scrub for at least 20 seconds in between your fingers, your knuckles, and your thumbs, and don't forget your wrist, as all of these surfaces are things that we touch, whether we realize it or not. And then you'll rinse off the soap thoroughly, but don't turn off the water just yet. You'll want to grab a paper towel or a hand towel and dry your hands first, and then grab a new paper towel to turn off the faucet, as you don't want any of the germs that you originally touched the faucet with to go back onto your hands and then making the whole hand washing process pointless. How us as healthcare tech students apply this at clinical? Again, hand washing is a skill, and we always wash our hands before taking care for a resident and after taking care of a resident, and always before we leave for school. And always disinfecting everything by putting on hand sanitizer between caring for residents or cleaning equipment before and after use. As my healthcare teachers always say, you don't know something's clean until you clean it. Wearing gloves, as we always follow standard precautions before coming in contact with any bodily fluids. And residents also keep good hand hygiene by making sure that we wash their hands before they eat, during bed baths, and giving a sandy wipe after eating. And also wearing PPE. If a resident we're caring for has any precautions, we want to protect ourselves, but we also want to protect them and prevent the spread of infection to other residents. So we always put on the proper PPE and discard it before leaving the room. There are plenty outcomes and educational value to infection prevention, as we want to reduce secondary transmission by keeping the infection contained as much as possible. Also, less students getting sick means more time in school and less time missing important information during classes, especially with the attendance initiative in schools this year. And increasing health literacy and peer accountability by giving students the opportunity to see how they can prevent infection. It allows them to make their own choices, but also hopefully making good choices. And me and my healthcare tech senior class made a winter health PSA that was posted on Quincy Public Schools in the winter. And it gave students an opportunity to see the ways that they could probably prevent the spread of infection in ways that they might have not noticed, and how we can all keep each other safe during the cold and flu season. So I'm here to share it with you today. Good morning, Quincy High. Winter health playoffs are officially underway.
That's right, and nothing keeps you on the bench faster than winter germs.
I'm really thirsty. Do you want some of my water? Wait, really? Yeah, you can have some. Thank you.
Uh-oh, we got a risky move here. Looks like student 1 is about to share a water bottle.
That's a rookie mistake, especially this time of the year.
Wait, this one hasn't been opened yet. Have this one instead. Thank you.
Interception! That's a clean play. Each athlete sticking to their own drinks.
Yikes, washing hands without soap is one thing.
Now, not at all. It's just foul play. Now that is championship technique. Thorough hand washing with warm water and soap.
I counted at least 20 seconds. This athlete came ready to play.
No sink? No problem. Hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol keeps you in the game.
Penalty on the play. Wide open cough. Germs everywhere.
And there it is, perfect form. That's the cough cave, textbook execution. And we're in the last quarter. Dangerous move coming up. Hands to the face.
Big no-no. Hands touch everything. Eyes, nose, and mouth are a VIP entrance for germs.
And there you have it, folks. Winter health victories all around.
Practice these plays daily, and you'll stay in the game and in school.
Stay healthy, Quincy High. Win the day. Roll hats. Thank you. My family and I will attend the 40th Annual Outstanding Vocational Technical Student of the Year Award Ceremony on Thursday, April 16th in Mechanics Hall, Worcester, Massachusetts. 55 recipients from 55 districts across Massachusetts will join me. Any questions?
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. All of you, that was really great. Great. I'm going to start with Mr. Bergoli because of all the sports references. I'm sure he's not going to be able to contain himself. He's going to have something to say about that.
I just think what you're doing career-wise, preparing for your career is fabulous because you're all going to have jobs, you're going to have important impacts on the population. Unlike some kids who go to college and don't know what they're going to do, and then they waste 4 years and they still don't know what they're going to do. you guys have chosen a path in high school that's going to prepare you to do well in college. UMass Amherst, go UMass. So I congratulate you on your choice and your hard work and success in your upcoming careers.
Ms. Campbell.
I would just say that your passion, each one of you, your passion comes through on how excited you are about the work that you're doing. And I was just very impressed to hear from all of you. And it was just really lovely to see how excited you were and impressed you should be with the work that the three of you have done. So nicely done. Thank you.
Ms. Cahill?
I don't really have any questions, just I think you're a testament to one of the things that we do with the CVTE is that gives you an opportunity to trial run, a career that you might be interested in, and it gives you time to check it out and then be like, yeah, I love this, I want to continue, or, which way you want to go, or say, maybe this isn't for me and I can pivot. And so seeing, the work that you do in collaboration with the CVTE programs is wonderful, and you're all brilliant and you're stars, and good luck in the future with whatever you're doing. So thank you for sharing.
Mr. Leung?
Yeah, congratulations to you all. You're all so impressive. I'm a huge fan of the CVTE program, and I love hearing success stories. Best of luck in your future endeavors. You're off to a great start, so just keep up the good work.
Mrs. Pardios?
Thanks. So excited to see you guys. I've known Leigh. I've known you since you were in kindergarten, and Molly, I've gotten to know you as well, and Emily, fantastic. So congrats to all of you. I'm similar. I'm so proud of Quincy Schools for having this program that allows kids like you to kind of partake in it and find out what you want to do. It's not just a class to take or some interest or hobby. Like, this is what you want to do for your career. And similar to my kiddo who found film, and that's what they want to go off and do. This kind of puts you on a pathway that sort of changes your life. And it's fantastic to see kids take advantage of it, and students like you that have really kind of really just run with it. And I knew that boat looked familiar, so I thought that it was that. So I didn't know you worked on it, so I was really excited to hear that. And the dementia training that you're getting, I took care of my grandmother who had dementia, and that is such a difficult thing to navigate. So as students, and there were students that came in that kind of took care of my grandmother and other seniors with her, and just the care that I saw in the students back then, a couple years back, and I'm sure you guys as well. I mean, just the respect that you all showed them. It's hard to get that as you get older. So I hope you keep that. And it was just the best thing to see young people interact with that. So I know you want to go into ultrasound, which is probably not that pathway, but I'm glad that you had that experience. It really does help. And ultrasound's super exciting too. And Emily, just so impressive to be able to assess a kiddo and just to be able to give them the appropriate supports that's going to allow them to achieve their full potential. So it's just, I'm glad you showed that, and it's just so important. So thank you all for kind of jumping in, and good luck in all you do.
Thank you. Thank you. So, as I said, so impressive. All of your projects, really impressive. I did my student teaching at the Snug Harbor Elementary School, so having you at Bernazani, that's great that you're able to do that and be in one of our schools, so that's great. I did have a question I was going to ask. What is your why? Why did you choose that pathway? Any of you have a reason that you picked?
I don't know. I just felt like the way I learn is a little bit differently, or is a little bit different. So having the like hands-on experience to do that and learn that way, and that makes sense for me. That was really why I chose a path that had a lot of that built into the way they teach. It's not all classroom work or all hands-on work. It's a mix of the two, and that was really important. So that's why I chose it.
Great answer. Thank you.
To be honest, when I first went to high school, I really wanted to pursue cosmetology, But since Quincy High didn't offer that, and I didn't want to go to a different school. I wanted to go to Quincy High School. So I was like, okay, what's like the next best thing that I could try out? And it was healthcare because I always liked healthcare. I just didn't like want to be a nurse per se, or didn't want to go to school to be a doctor for a long time. But I always knew that there was other things. At first, it was maybe X-ray, but I wasn't 100% sure. But just trying the healthcare technology program and getting a good sense of all the different diseases and all the different treatments and all the different other things that they offer, and then also the collaboration with Quincy College was really nice, and seeing the other programs that they offered, like surgical tech. But through healthcare and even like going to clinical placement, like I loved going to Hancock Park and working with the residents. I think it's something that I will enjoy doing while I'm in college, like working as a CNA, and then I can go off and do something else. So it's nice to have one career path and then it kind of branches out into another one.
Yeah, that's great. You're able to pivot like that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Did you have?
For me, I've always wanted to teach ever since like my elementary school years. Those years are what really made me want to pursue a career in teaching, because my elementary school teachers created such positive environments that I wanted to be in school every day. I loved school, and they inspired me to really want to teach. And through my placement at school, I learned even more that it just made me want to teach even more. I was always so excited to get up to high school so I could finally start my early ed class. I always knew they had it there, and I was so excited. And it just made me love it even more, and I'm so excited. It just, yeah, I don't know.
All great answers.
Sounds
Thank you
great.
so much. Thank you, Fran. That's
That's
wonderful.
wonderful.
And Superintendent Mulvey.
Thank you, and I do have some questions for each one of you, but before I do that, I do want to thank John Dunn from Boston Scientific and all of our partners throughout the partnership program. Your generosity is amazing, and your dedication to our students and staff is second to none. So we really appreciate everything that Boston Scientific does and all of our partners with regard to supporting our students, particularly in the CTE programs. And you've heard some of them tonight, which we'll kind of get into my questions. We'll start with Molly first, if you don't mind. Molly, amazing with regard to the renovation of that boat. Can you just talk to us a little bit about how your work at Quirk helped you with regard to your skill base for the renovation of the boat? And I do have to give a shout out to Quirk as well. We recently gave Mr. Quirk the Hancock Award for his dedication to the community, particularly our students. And the opportunities he gives all of our students, Molly being an example, is really amazing. But if you could just tell us how your work at Quirk helped you with your project, number one, and number two, was the boat motor or gasoline motor you converted to electric, or was it electric that you renovated?
It didn't have an engine to begin with.
Oh, wow, okay.
But in regards to how my job at Quirk has helped with the renovation, they're not like directly linked, but a lot of the skills that I learned working at Quirk in a actual real world shop, there's only so much we can learn in working at school. So being able to have that even more in-depth experience with working with people has definitely helped my skills in school. And giving me the knowledge to be able to work with other things like the boat. So, yeah.
Excellent, that's
Yeah.
great. And was the motor a gasoline motor that you converted to electric, or was it electric from the beginning?
It was, I believe it is a gasoline.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
impressive that you converted to electric, so that's amazing. So great work.
Thank you so much.
Next, Thalia, if you don't mind, that would be great. Obviously, another great partner of ours, Hancock Park Rehabilitation Center. They've been supportive of QPS for so long, and it's amazing that you're pursuing your CNA. But could you tell us how your experience at Hancock Park helped inspire you with regard to your desire to seek the CNA?
I would say that there's always talk about being a CNA, as it's not the most ideal job to some people. But we started going to clinicals kind of just to get a feel of Hancock Park in junior year. And that's where we got to really connect more with the residents one-on-one before we started to work on another floor, the floor above it. I think we're on the third floor. So just starting off with feeding and just getting to know the residents, asking them questions, observing their rooms, kind of getting kind of a gist of like what the population is like, because maybe a lot of people don't deal with the elderly or mostly elderly that lives in that population. So being able to talk to them and their life stories and getting all their experiences, and they love to talk about their grandchildren, and a lot of their grandchildren are our age. So getting to have those conversations with so many different types, different cultures that are there was really nice. And then this year, the best thing of going to be a CNA and like working at Hancock Park was definitely after you give somebody care, they like take the time to like ask your name and they just say, thank you so much. And like that little thank you, like whatever happened during clinical that day, it didn't even matter. Like just the thank you was purely enough to make my day better. And I was just like, yeah, maybe today was rough and there was things that didn't go exactly how we planned, but having their thank you and them being so appreciative of us, which we feel is like just our job, but for them, it's something that, you know, it's very vulnerable for them and they're able to trust us, is like more than we could even like say thank you to them for. So it's really great.
Excellent, that's great, and we do need great CNAs, so that's excellent. I'm sure it'll inspire many others. And Emily, if you wouldn't mind, a question for you. So your experience is amazing, working at the Bernanzani School, Campus Kinderhouse, another great partner of ours for many, many years. So many Quincy students have gone through Campus Kinderhouse. It's a great program, as well as Inspire Children's Center. Again, another great partner of ours supporting our students. Could you just review with us, having worked at the elementary school, the preschool Campus Kinderhouse, and Inspire Children's Center, what level of early childhood care, after working in all those areas, would you prefer to work in or look forward to working in?
Okay, so through my work, I usually work with toddlers, which range from age 1 to 2.5. I love working with toddlers, and I'm very experienced with working with toddlers since I work 4 days a week. I think they're amazing. But through my clinical placement, I work with kindergarteners, and Campus Kinderhouse was 4-year-olds, pre-K. And I learned that I really do prefer to work with children in kindergarten or pre-K because I love how they talk. They are so silly and funny, but they're so smart. And yeah, I think I've had a lot more experience with toddlers, but through working at clinical placement, I do about 3 days a week. Yeah, I've learned that I really do want to work in a kindergarten classroom.
Excellent, that's great. How about a round of applause for our students? Sure. And lastly, I do want to just give a shout out to our North Quincy and Quincy High School CTE staff who are all here to support us tonight and to support our students, both current and retired. So thank you for your support. If you wouldn't mind coming up so that, and of course, thank you, Mr. Segala, for all of your work in the program as well. If you wouldn't mind coming up to get a picture, that would be great.
Thank you. We're going to continue on with our agenda, and we'll continue on with the superintendent's report.
Yeah. We're just going to have the SLT come in.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe just like a 5-minute. Good evening again, everyone. It's good to see everybody. Next on the agenda is staff recognition. It is both an honor and a privilege tonight to recognize and celebrate the remarkable career of our Executive Director of Career, Vocational, and Technical Education, a colleague, a leader, and a true pillar of the Quincy Public Schools. After more than 3 decades of dedicated service, we gather not to say goodbye, but to recognize a journey that has left an enduring mark on our district, our students, and our community. This journey began long before a title was ever attached to Mr. Segala. Back in 1987, as a proud graduate of North Quincy High School, even then there was a connection to this district that would only grow stronger over time. From working as a junior custodian during summers to returning as a student teacher in 1992, there was already a clear sense that Quincy Public Schools was not just a workplace, but a home. In 1993, that commitment officially took root with an appointment as a part-time business teacher at Quincy High School. And from that very first role, earning just over an amazing $10,000 a year, what followed was a career defined not by titles, but by impact. Over the years, that impact expanded in extraordinary ways, from business technology educator to adult education coordinator to director of extension and continuing education, and ultimately to executive director of career, vocational, and technical education, as well as the Quincy School Community Partnership. Each role brought new responsibilities, but more importantly, new opportunities to innovate, to lead, and to serve. What stands out most is not just the longevity of your career, but the breadth of its influence. You helped shape programs that empowered students and connected learning to real-world opportunity. Initiatives like Early College High School Pathway, the Credit for Life Fair, and student leadership summits that inspired young minds across grade levels. You strengthened our community through partnerships, bringing together families, educators, and local businesses in meaningful and lasting ways. You led with vision during some of our most challenging times, none more so during the COVID-19 pandemic, when your leadership helped ensure the successful implementation and distribution of approximately 7,500 Chromebooks and greatly strengthened our wireless and computer technology infrastructures throughout the district to keep our staff and students connected and learning when it mattered most. You secured and managed critical grants from Perkins to Massachusetts Capital Skills to Mass Hire South Shore, ensuring that our vocational and technical programs continue to grow, evolve, and thrive. And through it all, you never lost sight of what matters most, of course, our students. Your work has opened doors for countless young people, giving them not just skills, but confidence, direction, and opportunity. Beyond the programs and achievements, there is something even more important to recognize: the way you brought people together. Whether organizing community events like 'Tis the Season, leading professional learning days for staff, or even starting traditions like the Staff Appreciation Breakfast, you built a culture of connection, collaboration, and care. You made people feel valued, and you made the district stronger. On a personal note, I want to express my sincere gratitude for your partnership, your professionalism, and your unwavering commitment to the Quincy Public Schools. Thank you also for being gracious when I and other people confused you with your brother Kevin. Your contributions have helped shape the district we are today, and your influence will continue to be felt for years to come. As you prepare to begin this well-earned new chapter, we know this is not truly an ending, it is simply a transition, one that reflects a career filled with purpose, accomplishment, and impact. On behalf of the entire Quincy Public Schools community, our administrators, educators, staff, students, families, and partners, thank you, Keith, for all you've done for the Quincy Public Schools. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you for leaving the Quincy Public Schools better than where you found it. We wish you all the very best in your retirement. Congratulations. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Superintendent Mulvey. I'm deeply humbled by your kind words. From a young age, I knew I wanted to dedicate my life to public service. I was inspired by my parents, my mother a nurse, and my father a teacher, who modeled compassion and integrity to the communities they served. Their example led me to education and a profession I've been honored to serve every single day. As a proud graduate of Quincy Public Schools, I was also shaped by countless educators and staff members who guided me, supported me, inspired me, and shared with me their love for the craft of education. They showed me what it means to lead with heart, to teach with purpose, and to believe in every student's potential. So today, as I reflect on this moment, I dedicate this day and this milestone to the Quincy Public Schools educators, past and present, who helped shape my journey. Their influence was profound, and their impact will stay with me longer after I leave my role. Throughout my tenure, I've had the distinct pleasure to serve in many capacities and roles, as Superintendent had mentioned, each offering their own lessons, challenges, as well as many, many rewards. I'd like to take a moment to share and highlight 3 specific initiatives. First, career and technical education has always held a special place in my heart. It represents opportunity, pride, and the belief that every student deserves pathways that honor their strengths, their passions, and their future aspirations. I've witnessed firsthand how CTE transforms students, giving them confidence and the skills to thrive in a rapidly changing world. I would like to recognize the people who truly make this work meaningful and successful. Our career and technical education teachers, who are the heart of our program, who bring industry experience and high expectations, and their compassion for each of our students in their classrooms and shops every day. Whether guiding students towards certifications, internships, clinical placements, college pathways, or direct employment, they open doors and change lives. Their commitment to relevance, rigor, and relationships defines what career and technical education should be. Our students, they inspire us. They show up ready to learn real-world skills, to problem solve, to create, and to lead. Watching them grow from kindergarten to high school freshmen to confident graduates prepared for careers, college, and military service has been the greatest reward of my career. They represent the future workforce and the future leadership of our community. Our Quincy School Community Partnership. Our partnership represents what is possible when a school district and its business community come together with a shared mission. Our community business partners have been nothing short of exceptional. Their commitment to our district, to our students, and to our teachers has been incredible. Through our business community partners and their willingness to offer financial support, site support, student support, and career connections ensures our programs stay aligned with workforce needs. Our success is built on these partnerships, and we're deeply grateful for their contributions. Partners such as the Arbella Foundation, Bay State Financial, Boston Scientific, Granite Telecommunication, Quincy Credit Union, Quincy Education Association, Quincy Mutual Group, Quincy College, just a few more, Quirk Auto Dealers, the Terrell Room, State Street, and so many, many more have been extraordinary community partners over these past 34 years. Most importantly, they've shown our students that the community believes in them and is invested in their success. It's been a true pleasure to co-chair the Quincy School Community Partnership with my colleague and friend, Janice Earlo. Thank you, Janice. It's been a privilege to serve as co-chair of the Quincy's Early College Pathway. Quincy's Early College Pathway expands access and helps our students envision a future filled with possibility. Watching this program grow over the past 5 years and seeing students gain confidence as they take on college-level work, as well as obtain free college credits, that's right, 25 to 62 college credits to be exact, has been a source of tremendous pride. Thank you, Quincy College and President Rick DeCristofaro, as well as Megan Giovannoni and Vice President, Student Success and Partnerships, for this unique collaboration and their leadership. I want to express my deep appreciation to Mayor Koch for his dedicated leadership. Quincy is stronger, more vibrant, and more connected because of his commitment to service. He has guided us through challenges with steadiness and vision, always keeping the well-being of this community and our school system at the center of his work. His support of our school system has made a lasting difference, from championing educational initiatives, including small class sizes, 4 new state-of-the-art schools and a new Squantum Elementary School well underway, numerous renovations and installations of heating systems, roofs, and window replacements across the district, not to mention ensuring our students and educators have the resources they need. He has helped create an environment where our students can thrive. Thank you, Mayor Koch. Members of the Quincy School Committee, thank you for your governance, advocacy, and continued investment in career and technical education. Your support has enabled us to strengthen programs, expand opportunities, and ensure students graduate prepared for high-skill, high-wage, and high-demand careers. Over the course of my career, I've had the distinct honor of serving under 3 remarkable superintendents: the late Gene Creedon, Dr. Perkins' beloved dad, Dr. Victor Cristofaro, and our current superintendent, Kevin Mulvey. Each led with a unique style and perspective. Each faced different challenges and moments in time, yet despite their differences in approach, they all shared a fundamental belief that guided their leadership, that our students and their families are our highest priority. Their commitment to putting students first created a culture of accountability and compassion. And I'm deeply grateful for the trust each of them placed in me and for the opportunity to contribute to that shared mission. Over these past 26 or 34 years, I've had the privilege of working alongside extraordinary colleagues, many behind me this evening. Supportive Assistant Superintendent Dr. Erin Perkins, SLT, directors, coordinators, managers, principals, as well as our CT department chairs, Mary Ann Collins, Jill Bonato, and former CT department chair, Rebecca McGinnis, all who share a deep commitment to our students and their families of Quincy. Most especially, working alongside my younger brother, Kevin, during these years has been incredibly special. Sharing this field of education and serving the Quincy community together is something I'll always treasure. Special thanks to Bob Cavallo and Dan Pacho for their exceptional leadership of the Quincy Public Schools Technology Planning and Training Team. Nancy Sorgi, our CT Administrative Assistant, who support, patience, dedication, never go unnoticed. Nancy's been the backbone of so much that we do, from keeping us compliant with our Chapter 74 programs to managing countless budgets and grants with care and precision, and I appreciate all that she has done and will continue to do. To the entire Coddington team, thank you for your kindness, that includes you, Laura, and professionalism that you bring each and every day. Supporting over 2,000 employees is not a small task, yet you do it with heart, integrity, and a clear understanding of our mission. You remind us what it means to truly serve others. And finally, it's been the honor of a lifetime serving this community, and I'll always be grateful to be part of the Quincy Public Schools. Thank you very much.
Any comments from my colleagues? Mr. Bergoli?
Thank you, Kevin. I mean, Keith.
That sounds familiar.
You really have made a tremendous impact on the school system, and you are going to be missed. What you've done here in your tenure is, you can't put it in words. So we really appreciate you, and we're going to miss you. We're not going to lose any more people, are we, Mr. Superintendent? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Ms. Cahill?
I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss seeing you sit back there sleeping with your eyes open. But Thank you for everything. I mean, you know, you said it all in your, you know, what you shared with us, and your impact has been shown throughout the years and 30 years of service. I mean, there's not much that we can say, but we will miss you and your leadership. And, you know, a lot of times when you're in a position like yours, new things come forward, figuring out how to put programs together, bring people together. You know, like you said earlier about the CVTE and the changes and how things change in technology and in our world. We need someone who's a good leader and who's smart and who's able to bring a team of people together to make things happen. So we're going to miss that about you, and thank you for everything you've done for us. Thank you. Thank you.
Mrs. Pardias?
Thanks. Thank you, Keith, for everything you've done. Just hearing about your journey and your positions, I now understand why you know so much about so many different aspects of QPS. It's just, I'll ask you a question, and your kind of historical knowledge of how something came to be just is always there. So now I kind of understand that better. I've always found every interaction with you to be respectful and gracious. You're just that type of person that just kind of, even in your farewell comments, you're kind of giving away your thanks and your your respect and your pride to the partners, the business partners, and the teachers and your coworkers. And it's just, it says a lot about you that's the type of person you are, kind of at your core, that you just really appreciate that. You know me, I have 1,000 questions and 1,000 ideas, and never once have I brought them to you and felt that I've wasted your time, and that you've always considered them and tried to figure out how to do it. Most recently with the career fair, just trying to figure out, we're brainstorming some ways to kind of expand that to all the high school kiddos, high school seniors, and you know, just your creativity and just your willingness to think outside the box. I've always found refreshing, and I just appreciate that.
Thank
And
you.
we'll miss you. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Enjoy your retirement.
Mr. Leung?
Thank you, Mr. Scala, for your service. Congratulations on your retirement. I caught you at the end of your career and your journey, but it sounds like you've had a tremendous impact, and I was fortunate enough to get a glimpse of that, and in particular, when I spent time with you at the Credit for Life Fair, just a super fun educational experience for those kids. It was really impressive to see. Thank you again for your impact, for shaping and guiding our students, both directly and through the programs that you've established. There's nothing more important than preparing them for the real world, and you've done a fantastic job of that, and that's just a fantastic legacy to leave behind, so thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ms. Campbell?
I too have caught you at the end of this, and I have gone to 2 events, the Pathways and the Credit for Life, and boy, I am, you know, so struck with how enthusiastically you talk about the students with such passion. It's just really impressive to see how excited you get for them. And I just want to thank you for all that you've done. And I just so appreciate how have such a positive view of improving the lives of these students. And it's just so wonderful to see. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I just want to say you will be so missed. The amount of heart you bring and professionalism to your job is amazing and short and sweet. You will totally be missed, so thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll continue. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the DZ deferral of special education and English learner program audits. As you know, following the completion of the DZ district review in late February, Dr. Perkins and I participated in a debrief meeting with DZ staff members on March 4th. At that meeting, we had the opportunity to point out that in addition to the district review, Quincy Public Schools was also scheduled for audits of the special education and English learner programs, both of which require extensive preparation. On March 23rd, we were notified by the Office of Public School Monitoring that the reviews could be deferred to the 2027-2028 school year, and we have gratefully accepted this option. So we wanted to communicate to that to you as well. Statutorily, we're not supposed to be audited more than once in any program, and this particular year, we were scheduled to be audited 3 times. So that is why DZ allowed us to defer. So that is a good thing, and we can prepare for the next audits with enough time and preparation so that our audits are precise. We are honored that Congressman Stephen Lynch once again visited Central Middle School's grade 8 civic students today to share about his work in Congress. Special thanks to Community Development Director Sean Glennon for his assistance in arranging the visit. Upcoming Quincy Public Schools and City of Quincy events. The spring concert season continues with the combined high school band concert on Thursday, April 9th at 6 p.m. at North Quincy High School, and the combined high school solo and ensemble recital on April 15th at 6 p.m. at North Quincy High School. A full schedule of spring concerts will be shared at an upcoming meeting for the school committee. The Atlantic Middle School Drama Club is presenting the musical Descendants on April 10th at 7 p.m. and on April 11th at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. in the school auditorium. Tickets are available in advance on ludus.com, that's LUDUS.com, or at the door for each performance. The City of Quincy is presenting Road and Rivers, an Americana songbook on April 18th from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Church of the Presidents. The citywide PTO is presenting Screenagers, Next Chapter, April 30th at 6 p.m. at Central Middle School. The annual Quincy High School Fashion Show will be held on Thursday, April 30th at 6 p.m. in the Lloyd Hill Auditorium, featuring the original creations of our fashion technology students, assisted by students from the broadcasting, graphic design, culinary, and carpentry technology programs. The City of Quincy's annual Cleaner Greener event will be held on Saturday, March 2nd from 9 a.m. to noon at school and park sites throughout the city, followed by the Mayor's Appreciation Cookout at Pageant Field starting at 12:30 p.m. The 5th Annual Quincy Multicultural Festival will be held at Faxon Field on Saturday, May 9th from noon to 3 p.m., showcasing the diverse cultures of our community through music, food, and art, and that is always a great event. I certainly encourage anyone that can go to attend. Again, it's great for family and everyone. And in conclusion, I wanted to note that April is Autism Acceptance Month, which celebrates and honors the experiences and identities of individuals, emphasizes understanding, inclusion, and support, moving beyond awareness towards meaningful acceptance. Autism Acceptance Month recognizes that autism is more than a diagnosis. It is a community and a lived experience that encompasses both challenges and triumphs. Throughout Autism Acceptance Month, Quincy Public Schools will participate in awareness events and share educational resources that create pathways for neurodiversity inclusion. So with that, that ends the superintendent's report.
Ms. Perdios has a question.
Oh, sure.
Thanks. Excuse me. On Congressman Lynch, how many years has he done that? I know he's done that multiple years.
Yeah,
right?
he's done that multiple years, but
This is just the second year.
Yeah, I think so.
I
You think it's the third?
yeah, it's definitely, I
Okay.
believe it's the 3rd year that he's done that.
Does he always go to Central Middle School?
I believe that is the case, yes.
It would be great to have him be able to, if it's going to be something that he continues to do, if we could just sort of have that kind of rotate around so that all the middle school kiddos sort of get an opportunity.
I can certainly ask the Congressman's office to do that.
so much.
Yes,
Appreciate that.
Of
Thank
course.
And I would like to point out the Atlantic Middle School drama productions. I would suggest people get the tickets online, because I myself have tried to go to a play there in the past and got there, and they were sold out. So I would suggest buying your tickets online ahead of time.
Great,
So you
thank
do not
you.
have that happen to you. All right, thank you for the superintendent's report. We will move on to old business. The first item we have on old business is proposed revision to the school committee policy, section 10.17, student personal electronic device policy for discussion. We are rearranging the furniture. This was in policy and was voted out of policy to come to committee, so we're here for discussion. Do you want to start?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So we just wanted to, first I do want to thank Mr. Ellis and Ms. Cavallo, both of whom have joined us here tonight to hopefully answer any questions that you might have. I just want to point out some of the things that after the subcommittee meeting and based on the feedback from that meeting that we adjusted or changed. And so on the second page of the policy, we did add language about accommodations. So if a student has a disability or medical condition that requires a cell phone or other device, the accommodation will be noted in the student's IEP, 504 plan, or health plan. The special education team liaison or health office will notify appropriate staff of the necessary accommodations. And this is also under the middle school section as well as the high school section. And we also added a section about extracurricular activities, athletics, and school-sponsored events. That basically just says that if students are participating in any of those activities, the pouches will be unlocked at the conclusion of the school day prior to the restart of their respective programs. Program facilitators, coaches, and advisors will work with building administration to adjust this practice for individual students if personal electronic device use is negatively impacting participation, engagement, safety, or adherence to the program expectations. In such cases, students may be required to keep devices secured for the duration of the activity. And then just a clarification, we added a clarification on detentions, that students assigned to school detention would keep their phones secured in the pouches for the duration of the detention. Phone pouches may be unlocked only after the detention has been fully served unless otherwise directed by school administration. And we did add those things also to the middle school section in terms of the after-school activities. And on the middle school section, we did just clarify that it is for students in grades 6 to 8, per a question from Mr. Begoli that we received at the policy subcommittee. And so those are the changes that we've made based on that feedback, and we're happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you. I appreciate you making those changes. I just have one question too. So what's going on with the state with this policy? Is that going to change anything that we do in regards to how they vote on what they're doing?
It wouldn't change anything. I think we're actually getting ahead of the curve, and I'm sure that Gail would agree with me on that.
My understanding is the legislation is there. It is, I am assuming it will be passed based on everything we're hearing from the State House. We would be proactively engaging on this issue before it became law.
Okay.
Are they asking to do the
Sorry,
same?
Mrs. Cahill. Go
Are they,
ahead.
do they
Yeah,
want
it's
to
a
do the same thing?
bell-to-bell ban. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll open it up to questions. Ms. Campbell?
I have a question for some students. I mean, I think this is a very good idea, but I think for some students, there are some students who may feel more vulnerable, who don't have the same social networks as other students without their phones, right? And I'm wondering if there's some conversation about how those vulnerabilities will be supported for students where this is, it's a different feeling than just putting phones away. It may be more of a vulnerability piece.
Right.
And I'm just wondering if there's any thought
Yeah.
about how to support those students who might be on their own in terms of social peer groups.
Yeah, and I think that our guidance counselors and our educators, we do that in actually all of our schools. We have social groups, guidance staff has like lunch groups, or we arrange things, to help students with that. I think that from our perspective, and I'll let anyone else jump in, but I think that we would love that opportunity to work with those children because, relying so heavily on your phone is also very isolating. And so just having that opportunity to work with the student on developing, high school, middle school, they're fleeting. They only last for such a short amount of time. And our job is to make sure that every student in that building feels like they have a person and that they have a group. Maura Papil used to always say, every student needs at least one person in their corner, And so I think that we would work really hard to make sure that that happened. And the hope would be to make students actually more social with each other and hopefully, encourage that to expand their friend groups and not be, so heavily reliant on their phone. So we would absolutely do that.
Can I jump in on that too? So one of my responsibilities as a department chair is if a staff member gets held up in the morning, I go and I cover homeroom. And one of my teachers this morning was betrayed by the Boston train system. And so I had to jump in. There were about 15 kids in the homeroom. There were two young ladies on one side of the room who were talking to each other, and there were two on the other who were talking to each other. And then there were 11 kids silently staring into a phone. The two young ladies on either side of the room were not making eye contact. They still had their phones out, but they were sort of talking to each other out of the sides of their mouths. And I've probably had to do this over the last few years, 40 or 50 times. What was unique about today was that 4 kids that were talking to each other was the most I've ever seen. And usually the number of kids who are actually communicating in homeroom with one another is 0 because they're all just looking at those phones. I think removing the phones is part of the solution to the lack of socialization. And I think anecdotally, we've all heard stories out of schools that have done this already, that has been the case. The kids actually start talking to one another and like making friends instead of just staring at TikTok. So I think the actual solution to the problem is the solution to the other problem. And certainly there may be a transitional period where certain students need some help, but I think by and large for the average student, this is going to foster their socialization much better, and it's going to make them better doing this on their own.
I have one other question, and it's about the consistency in which the punishment will be, the consequences will be enforced. I mean, there are different buildings, right? Different high schools, different buildings, and I just was wondering if there's been some conversation about how this will be done consistently so all students are seeing the same consequences.
Yeah, I absolutely think it will be consistent. When we came up with when we wrote the violations section of the policy, that came specifically from Principal Gilbert and Principal Ford. So we did not put anything in there that they were not okay with and felt that they could implement consistently across both high schools. And, they actually did give feedback. We actually changed some of what we had originally written to match consistently what North Quincy High and Quincy High both currently typically do for common violations. And so we would treat this the same way that we, treated other infractions that students engage in. And so like vaping or, things like that. And so we would handle things in a very similar way, and we would expect that both of our principals would handle it in the same fashion and with the same consistent manner, and which is why we included them on the team, and we actually got their feedback before we put anything in front of you all.
Great, thank you.
Mrs. Cahill.
To your point, Mrs. Kimball, I think that having this policy makes it more equitable across the board, because before, not having this policy, we would hear from families, or, my daughter's in one class and it's not being enforced, but my son is in another and his is being enforced. And that's because, what we want to do is take away the onus on the faculty to have to enforce this in their classrooms, right? So having this policy here, I think, makes it like everyone's going to do the same thing. And I hope that that's the case, but I think that that's what we're trying to get at with this policy.
Just very briefly, I think that that's actually the point. Every educator that we speak to daily, this is the issue that prohibits them from actually getting curriculum across to students. The distraction, the text message, the notification, I don't know, Boston Globe, I'm sure that's, whatever. But the reality is we have to take those distractions away. I know, you all see me, I sit here, I'm constantly looking at my phone, but people are texting me nonstop. But what we really need our students to be able to do from 7:45 to 2:30 is to interact with each other, learn what's going on in the world around them and in their classrooms, and interact with each other. That's actually how they will be able to succeed at the next level.
And interact with you.
That would
the
be
faculty and the
delightful, right?
Right, and
Yeah,
the teachers.
exactly.
So that's important.
So I am still very glad that you guys were involved in writing, the union was involved in writing this, and that the teachers are on board with it. That was-
No, we were incredibly grateful to be heard and grateful to work with Dr. Perkins and Mr. Marani and the principals on this. We are confident it will be a game changer.
I don't think you could find a teacher in the United States that wouldn't advocate for this.
Mr. Leon? Yeah.
Could you please talk to me about the search and evaluation process you undertook before deciding on this technological solution and this vendor? Like, how many options were available to choose from? What factored into the decision-making?
Yeah, we talked about just going with a ban. And initially, we actually said, okay, maybe we'll draft like two things. We'll do, just a ban and then like one with the pouches. We had originally talked about that. We talked about the potential, I don't know too much about it, but we had heard that there was also like an app that can go on children's phones. But we thought about that, but then it was like, how do you ensure it? Now we're touching kids' phones and putting something, and we didn't want like who's going to do that and what position are we putting staff into. And so then when we decided, and then through the conversations with Gail and Michael and the principals, and we really felt like the only way to kind of take this out of the educators' hands, meaning the educators as the enforcers, because even if we just did a ban with no pouches, we knew that it was going to come to an educator would be in a room and it would be with a student who was not complying with the ban and had their phone. It would just basically be more of the same, and it would cause the same disruption, and it would again be the educator that had to enforce it, and then we get then it becomes inconsistent. Then we have a teacher who isn't comfortable confronting a student, which I think is perfectly reasonable. And so then that class, another teacher walks down the hallway and sees that class, a student on the phone, and nothing's happening. Meanwhile they're telling their kids that they can't have their phones. So we were trying to avoid all of that. And then when we looked, we knew that the Yonder pouches was the pouch that pretty much everybody is using. So, we talked, like I said, we talked to the Taunton principal. I think there's other pouches out there. We honestly didn't really look too much at them because that was the one that was like the most highly recommended.
Thank you.
Mrs. Perdios?
All right. I have a lot of questions. I'm sorry in advance, but I just want to really be sure I understand it. I'm fully on board with getting the distraction out of the classrooms. If what we have now isn't working, I get it. I don't want teachers to have to. I hear stories of my kids that come home that tell me a teacher had to get into an interaction with a student to put phones away, and it happens, and I know it happens, and I hear the QEA saying that this is a priority, and I absolutely respect that. I just want to make sure that when we put this through, that we've thought it through everything, so hence all of my questions. So just bear with me a little bit. And they're probably in no particular order, but so if there's a violation, who will enforce that now? So if somebody is found to be in the bathroom or in the hallway on their phone, walk us through what happens.
It would be security, or the deans, which is what happens now when something like that happens. So it would be one of them. They would, if security interacts with the student, they get brought to the dean, and it would be the dean. And then obviously if it was a significant issue, if the student was being, very disrespectful or something like that, it may go to the principal or the assistant principal. But the enforcement would go with the dean, and if it would be the deans that would enforce it. And if, say, a teacher sees a student, our approach would be that they would refer it to security or refer it to the dean, and that they would handle it. And we actually talked about that, because that's the whole point, right? So, so that would be, it would be the deans ultimately, with obviously the assistance of security, basically bringing the student to the dean.
Okay. And those the security and the deans are going to be, trained in how to handle it and how to de-escalate, and I would assume that those are the kiddos that have the most trouble with it, right? So that those are the kids that, while they violated a policy, they probably need the most amount of support with this new policy. So just making sure that we're, being safe when we're interacting with that situation, but also making sure that we're, not just having staff members say, just put it away. You know what I mean? So it has to be, to Ms. Campbell's point, I think it has to be enforced in a way that is appropriately consistent across the district.
Absolutely.
Just so that we don't have a few people saying, well, it's okay here, and that type of stuff. I think it's the only way to make it work.
Yeah, we 100%, we absolutely agree.
So, and again, some of these questions sort of came from the subcommittee meeting that I was in the back for, but so thinking about rolling this out the first day of school in the fall, walk me through what it looks like. So, and I know Quincy High the best, so I'm going to go Quincy High. Walk me through this. 2 doors students enter in. What does that look like? How many people are lining the doorways watching kids snap it together at each door?
So I think it would be the security, the school resource officers, probably the deans, would be primarily the people that would be responsible. I think we can all anticipate that at the beginning, we may need to have additional staff, and so if we had to stipend people, we would do that. But especially for the first 2 weeks. But after that, I think it would primarily fall with security. And I think that the magnets, we would have magnets, I'm thinking Quincy High, right? And I think some of this is going to have to be teased out, which is why the other reason we liked Yonder, to Mr. Liang's point, is that they come and they will observe what you're doing, and they will actually give you feedback. So after you've been implementing for a month or whatever, it's part of our contract that they will send our representative to both high schools, one at each high school. They will watch what we're doing, and they will give us feedback on how to improve it. So the magnets would be at the front door and the back door, say, of Quincy High School, and there's security in both places. And the kids would come in, and they would put their phones in, and they would push the button, and and then they would go on, and the security people would be there. And I think that, I know when we talked about this, and we had some conversations about how this would look, and I know that I think that Mr. Ellis could probably tell you that they don't all, I thought they're all coming in right at 7:45. It's like this massive flood of children, and that's not actually really the reality. Is the kids kind of start coming in, I'd say 7:15 or somewhere around there.
I'm not there, so.
Or 7:30 maybe, and they come in, and then it's kind of like a trickle after that, So there is a point where I think a lot of kids will be coming in, but they're not all coming in at the exact same moment.
I got you.
Can I jump in there
please,
too?
go ahead.
My wife is the librarian at Taunton High School, and they implemented this year. There are 2,500 students approximately at Taunton High School, and they have one entrance, and this is not a problem.
There's no lines out the door.
That they were concerned at the beginning of the year, and so one of the things that they did was they staggered dismissals for like 2 weeks, and then realized they didn't need to do it. So this doesn't create the logjam that everyone is, I think, rightly concerned about. It seems that that's not what manifests when this happens.
Okay. So related to that a little bit, our new attendance policy, if you're tardy to homeroom, if you're tardy to any class, you're losing credits or I'm feeling like maybe there should be a little joining of those together where we loosen the attendance policy, at least in the beginning of the day as kids are coming in while we get used to what we're doing here. So we're not having kids or parents or anyone freaking out over someone being late to a class or losing credit and having to make up. Do you know what I'm saying? I think it's a
do.
lot
Yep.
in the first day in the couple weeks of
Yeah.
school. So maybe relaxing that policy might make sense.
I mean, we absolutely will let the principals know, like, if a student is having trouble with their pouch or whatever, they are jammed up in the entranceway for any reason, that they should not be penalized.
Okay, so there'll be a way
It
to
would not be. They
communicate.
would get a pass anyway, and the pass would exempt them out of, they're not running afoul of the new attendance policy.
Okay, I think
if they have a
communicating that
pass.
might be really helpful too, just so
Yep, we
parents
can
aren't worried
absolutely
about.
do that.
Because I'm so glad the educators were working on this policy, but I don't think any parents were sort of brought into that team. So I know, like, just from parent concerns of what people might be concerned about, and I would think that, especially with the new attendance policy, how well you did rolling that out and making it a priority.
We will do this the same way.
Yeah, so, but
Yes.
just having the two work together.
Absolutely.
And also hearing from the students, I'd love to hear what they think of this policy. So I know what the students in my house have thought of it. So how do you know if a watch is a smart watch or a regular watch?
Well, I know that what an Apple Watch looks like. I'm not an expert in the
Because
others,
it's
but
blank on the face until the kid touches it.
So are you going to have security and deans checking the watches to make sure that they're regular watches and not smart watches?
I mean, I think we would expect that they would put it in the bag, and if they get caught with it, then they would be subject to the discipline policy.
Okay.
So,
And it's not hard to catch a kid in class who's
yeah.
typing on
Right.
their watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to, again, take out the things that educators and people in the hall are going to have to deal with. So I'm trying to think about all the ways that a parent would look at this, that and a kid would try to get around a thing. Kind of familiar with that in my house, too. Under progressive discipline, you have a description here. It begins with the least restrictive interventions, such as verbal warnings and redirection. I don't see anything about verbal warnings or redirection in this. So I think it's misleading to think that are people going to be verbally redirecting them or warning them to put it away? Or is it just you see it, you go to the first offense? And if it's the latter, I think we maybe need to take that out. So, because again, I think it's misleading to say, well, is someone going to give a verbal warning to a kid if they see them using it in the hallway, or is it a detention? I mean, it's two very different things. So I think that including that is a little misleading, in my opinion. Again, I'm sorry. I know there's a lot.
That's okay.
The funding of the pouches, the 200 to 250,000, I would love. I heard about the business partnership, perhaps avenue. I would love that. I would love that doesn't come out of our budget, but it would be fantastic. We have great business partners and a lot of people that work hard on that. So I'm hoping that comes about, and I'd be curious to hear about that. So we don't have, so the extra staff you said would be stipended. Okay. So when we come to the extracurricular activities, the stuff you guys added, the stuff in gray here. So if a kiddo is deemed that they need to have their electronic devices in the pouch for the athletic activity or after-school activity, how do they get it unlocked after the activity? Say a kiddo goes to, a baseball game, they come back from the baseball game, who's there to unlock it at 7:30 at night when they're getting back?
Well, there are like portable magnets, like handheld magnets.
Right,
that
but
the
who would have
coach
that
could-
at
Well, the
7:30?
coach, we'd give it to the coach.
So the coach would have it.
We'd have, if we have a student, I expect that this will be rare, by the way. Like, I don't expect that this will be a common issue, and it would be it would have to be like a pretty extreme case for us to tell a student that they have to lock their phone when they're at a baseball game or whatever. But they would, if we did that, then we would have to provide the coach with the magnet, the handheld magnet, which would be fine.
Okay, all right. And you would know that that's that is happening with the kiddo on that team, so you would know to get that to the coach?
Yeah, they would. I mean, we wouldn't do it without working with the coach. Like the coach would have to say to us, this is a problem. This student is on inappropriate sites, or I don't know, whatever the thing is, right? It would have to be something like really concerning.
Gotcha. All right, so staying on sports, oftentimes in the spring, obviously in the fall as well, but in the spring, this spring particularly, practices get canceled, right? Kiddos need rides home, and I typically get the text at 12:30, practice is canceled, I now need a ride, or the game's been postponed, I need a ride. How does that information now get communicated? I mean, it certainly can do it over an intercom to the kiddos. How do parents find out that their kid needs a ride home without kids having to now miss class because they need to go and call their parent? Is there any way that we could handle this so that the athletic directors, as soon as something's canceled, they're
Absolutely.
reaching out to every parent on that list of the roster list? I mean,
Yes.
it's a lot of
Yep.
phone calls to take on.
Well, I think you'll get a school messenger. You'll still get a text,
Yeah.
but it will be not from your student. It will be from school messenger.
Okay, so that will
yeah.
happen.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think if that communication is solid, I think that we can.
We would
you know,
absolutely make sure that was solid, definitely.
So we don't have kids kind of hanging out waiting for.
It's pretty easy. We can set the groups up in School Messenger.
Okay.
And they just basically type in what when Mike's used it, they can type in what they want to send, and off it goes.
Okay, great. How are the phones stored in the dean's offices or the administration office if they have to be collected? How are they stored? What if they become lost? What happens? So now we're giving a student's owned device to the school. How is that stored, and how is it given back, and what protections are we putting in there? Because we're not doing that really now.
I mean, I think that they do sometimes take phones away now. I do actually think they do that. If a student is having a real problem, the principals aren't here, but I can tell you at most schools, if a student is having a significant problem, they take the phone away.
But now it's if you
Yeah.
forget your pouch, which I assume will be 20% of every class in every grade from 6 to 12 will be forgetting their phone, and they will have to be collected.
I don't think it's as significant as based on the people that we've talked to, I think it's really just a small handful of kids. And so they would, we would have to lock it up. And we have locked file cabinets, we have locked cabinets. So that the deans would have, or the school staff has keys to. And so we would lock them up.
Okay, and put the kiddo's name on it or something, so we're ensuring we're giving the right phone back to the right
Yeah,
kid.
we'd have to do some kind of like sign in, sign out system, and to make sure that they are getting the right phone. But I think remember too, the deans know these kids, right? So it's not like it would be me taking a phone. I would have no idea, right? But they know them. So I think that, that it would be very easy for them to put a sticky on a phone and say, this is Erin's phone,
Okay.
And if I could jump in there
Yeah,
again,
please, go
again,
ahead.
the Taunton thing, and I'm confirmed by, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, the rep we spoke to, defiance of the policy is actually much more rare than you think it's going to be. Most kids are pretty compliant, and within 2 weeks, this is usually settled.
That's great. And I'm sorry for all the questions because it may all be moot, but I just know people have asked me these and I myself would be concerned about them. So I want to make sure, and I would have asked you offline ahead of time, but I think the public should probably hear these being
I
asked.
will
so-
just say also, Ms. Perdios, that Mike spoke with the Taunton principal and he actually confirmed that.
Okay.
That I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, so as I spoke to the Taunton principal, he had mentioned, well, a couple of things. So first, the year prior to when they adopted a policy with pouches, they had just a bell-to-bell band, but without any pouches. And they found that just became too difficult to consistently enforce. So just to the early point made around consistent enforcement of this. And then the second piece is, ultimately, it's a very small percentage of students who struggle to bring their pouch in consistently, and it tends to be a repeat group. So what ends up happening, at least in this school, in their experience, is they work with those kids to almost have individualized plans. And so in many cases, there's maybe a small handful, I think he said maybe 10 or 11 kids, where it's pretty consistent. There's a specific spot they put their phone in the office and it gets locked and stored away. And so that's what, I mean, the 2,800 students in that school, and he said about 10 or 11 kids. So that's just one anecdote. And then the last piece I do just want to say, at least from the former middle school principal perspective, it was common, not every day, but it was common to have to take a phone from a student. And so we did have a sign out, or we signed it in so we know exactly whose it was. And we locked it not just in the principal's office, but within a Chromebook cart. There was like a top container. So I think that also comes down to looking at each school, at the middle schools and the high school levels, and seeing what resources we have, whether they're locked file cabinets, Chromebook carts, whatever they might be, and keeping them secure. So that was how I, as the principal at Broad Meadows, made sure that if we were taking a phone for the rest of the day from a student, we were protecting that phone and giving it back to the student at the end of the day, or if it was a repeat offender, we would just call the parent would come and get it, or we'd work it out.
That's great. Okay, I'm going to blow through some of these a little bit here. So so the enforcement, just a little bit. So I guess the violations I'm fine with, the consequences I'm fine with. They seem, I get it. The only one that sort of seems a little out of line is the lost one. So if a kiddo loses a pouch, in middle school, they're getting a half an hour detention, and at the high school level, they're getting an hour detention. So if we're enforcing this strictly, and as it says, a kiddo's, we're talking about 11-year-olds at 6th grade, they lose things all the time, and your family's paying $30 for a new one. Do you then need to have a detention? It sort of feels like, you lose it, every kid loses a thing. And I sort of feel like that's the only one that feels a little out of line. I get if you're like purposely going around evading the policy and you're putting a burner phone in there and you're using your smartwatch and you're trying to get around it. But if you just lose a pouch, do we really need to have detention for that?
I would suggest that the $30 penalty is for the parents and the detention is a way to teach the kids something about their own responsibility.
I think honestly, when we did this, right, when we wrote this is also damaged, right?
Right,
And
which I
so-
get. Damaged, I
so,
get. Losing feels like a different thing.
Yeah, and I think, I think what we potentially could do is we could clarify like how many times you lose it. Might be a compromise, because I feel like if a student loses it once, the parent has to pay and they replace it. But if a student loses it 5 times, then maybe they potentially need detention.
I think that feels a little more in line with what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to just give out detentions all the time, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's not great for staff. I don't think anybody wants that, right? And some kids, they have to come home. So that's a really difficult thing if they just lose it. It's not that they've tried to maliciously get around the system. So I would encourage us to look a little differently at that lost pouch thing.
We could split it out and
Yes,
keep it
damaged
damaged,
is one thing.
and then lost as a separate thing. And then we could just kind of clarify that, the detention at the middle school level would, that we could especially make sure that it was for someone that, I've lost it now 10 times.
Right, exactly. That might,
Yeah, 2 times, so.
2, 3, something like that. But I know, like you say, I get it, and at the high school level maybe feels a little different, but 11-year-olds, they just lose stuff all the time. And it's not really, yeah. So, okay, almost there. Procedure for an emergency. If there's a fire alarm for some reason and they can't go back into the building, now you have 1,500 kids outside of the high schools with locked pouches that can't unlock them because they can't go back in. What do we do?
The magnets travel.
Right.
Well, is somebody going to go in the burning building to get the magnet?
I assume they would be on
They
security
would-
guards at all
we'd have-
times.
We'd have them on security or deans. We would have them with them at all times, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be communicated if there's an
Yes,
emergency.
absolutely.
We would
Yep.
find, so, and what would be something about accidental locking after hours or something? Or if you didn't if you unlocked it, ran outside, got in the car, you didn't pull your phone out and then it locked when you got, that type of
Yeah.
thing. What about accidental locking overnight? Is there going to be any way that they could come somewhere and get it
I mean, I
unlocked?
think if the building is open and there's a sports activity and there's a security guard there, absolutely, they could probably go. But if it's 12 o'clock at night, I mean, I'm a dedicated employee,
Right,
but with that,
But I mean, I know we have
yeah.
a security person there often,
Yeah.
so that will always be there. If
I
there's a
mean,
way to-
if there's a security guard working because there's a nighttime thing,
Yeah.
you know, and
Okay.
then there's going to be, the magnets are there, so they can go to the school and they can unlock the pouch. But, you know, that isn't every night.
Right.
We would do our very best to help them, you know, and if I'm here or the superintendent's here, we're here, Laura, we're here very late many nights. Then- Yeah, we can have one here. And so if you know, someone can get us before we leave for the night, then we will absolutely run out and unlock their phone, not a problem.
Great. I will take a magnet too for all the high school kids that I know that
Yeah.
I'm sure will need
Yeah.
that. So
We're
I'm
happy to do that.
Happy to be a point person.
Yeah,
on
which
that.
is why we are encouraging them
Yeah.
to, you know, take the stuff out of, which is what we're like going to be a teaching moment, right? Take the stuff out of your phone when you're walking out the door and then lock it. Because that way you will not lock things. You won't go home and accidentally lock your mom's phone in the pouch, you know,
That would
or
be
something like
excellent,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I could see kids wanting to do that. All right, last one. We've come to my last question. I know we've gotten there. Teachers who use phones and apps in their classroom currently, even though maybe we're not supposed to do that, but it happens more than one. How are educators going to be encouraged to find other ways to use, or are they going to have to use Chromebooks more, or is there going to be any kind, I guess my real question is, are there going to be exemptions for educators that really currently use their phones and apps on kids' phones now?
No.
No.
Okay, so they're just going to have to figure it out.
Right.
Okay.
The district issues Chromebooks.
Okay.
We-
I am
we-
fine
We
with
would
that.
love to have
I
a
am
conversation
fine
about
with that.
them.
Yes, I'm fine
But
with
we
that.
won't tonight. We're going to focus on this. But I think it's really important that what the members have told us is that they want a policy that is consistent, that takes the distraction out of the classroom, that allows for critical thinking. And if they can't use Kahoot to do their, little, pre-quiz quiz, they will figure it out. They're very smart and they're professionals.
Excellent. That's exactly what, I just wanted to make sure there were no like exemptions or like special type, like you can use it sometimes. All right, so that's perfect. And
You're going to need to increase the paper budgets for the schools.
yes, paper budgets, and I would think the bandwidth on some of these Chromebooks too, if kids are using, I don't know. So maybe bandwidth is another conversation for another day, but
Blue books.
Actually, Mrs. Cahill has a question first, and then we're going to
No,
go.
no, I wasn't actually, I was going to say, part of the training for the kids is that they're going to lock their things before they
Correct.
even leave the building. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And I'm sure that if they do it once, they'll never do it again. But that was, I just wanted to interject when you were asking that, so.
And thank you for putting up with
All good.
patience with my question.
Oh, boy.
Oops, okay. Crisis averted. Okay, now we have our North Quincy High School student representative.
Me all right? Or-
Try.
It's on, yeah, it's on, yeah, it's on.
Oh, okay. Before I say anything, I want to say I know a lot of you may think I'm already hostile and against this. I will say I completely agree that phones are a distraction. Even in my journalism class on the Radar Roundup, the website, I wrote a whole entire segment about phones being a distraction and had interviewed many teachers. Now, I will say I take a lot of advanced classes, so I don't see a lot of kids on their phones. I feel like students who, I guess I don't want to say truly value in a negative sentiment to others, but who want to learn more won't use their phones. And when they do, I mean, in my U.S. history class, there are a few times where I look things up and my teacher will call me out. Like I know there are teachers that don't call each other out or are more lenient, but those types of teachers tend to have less students use their phones in class. But I will say, before I say anything else, I do have a few questions. I had more, but thank you, Ms. Perdios. She answered most of them. I don't know if I misread, but how will field trips work?
Yeah, so it would be, if you're on a school field trip, then you would have your phone in your pouch. And I mean, you, like I said, you have it with you, but you would have the phone in the pouch. We can always give a magnet, the portable magnet, to whoever the educator is to have it with them in case something comes up that you absolutely need to unlock it. But if it's something to do with school, we would expect the phone would be in the pouch.
And I know it was mentioned before, but the times in the morning, I get to school very early, 7:15. So this isn't really for me, but I don't know how it works at Quincy. At 7:51 is when homeroom is over. So once you get there at 7:51, you're late already, and you have to go to the office. And the way they've tried to like kind of fasten the lines, because like there's a bunch of kids who come in after 7:51, and they're already at the office trying to get their like name signed in to not be tardy. The way they've done it at North, you get like your ID and you try to scan it, but half the kids already forget their ID. Now, I've physically seen the line literally reach outside the door of North, like super duper long. Now, I can't begin to imagine how long it will be with the pouches, because not only do you have to like make sure everything's turned off, make sure you don't have a smartwatch because kids might cover it, whatnot, and like if it is a smartwatch, like tapping it and all that. How will that work out with like tardiness and stuff? Like, will kids be like punished like later or whatever?
How many scanning stations do you have to scan into the building with your IDs?
North, it's only one.
See, that's the difference, right? So that you would have multiple lanes for the magnets. The magnets will be the quickest part of your entry, I would suspect, because you'll be able to scan in a variety of places instead of having to get in one line.
For the is it at the door?
Yes. Yep. And they're going to give us, when we buy them, they give us a whole bunch of magnets, like lots of them, way more than we would ever need.
Okay, perfect.
And to your earlier comment, I teach a lot of AP classes, and my experience is different from yours.
Oh. I interviewed a bunch of like my teachers.
I don't disbelieve you.
No, it's okay. But I know I don't know, like it's different again because someone mentioned like lenient teachers, which I've literally seen so many times. Like it's not consistent, where some teachers are more strict. Some teachers have already like little jails in their rooms, and some teachers don't. To go on with my next question, what about teachers who will continue to be lenient? They'll see students on their phones and maybe not contact security or feel too nervous to do so. Because, I mean, them contacting security and the security coming into the room or whatnot is still somewhat of a confrontation. So how would that be harsher?
So I think that the thing is, when this happens, right, it's a culture shift for the whole school. And so they might be in one class and maybe it could happen that a teacher, that would be the case, but then they go to the next class and that teacher is going to say, how come their first period class teacher didn't notice this? Or did they notice it? Maybe they did, and maybe they reported it to the dean. And that's along the way, someone is going to say something, which is then going to prompt the administration to have a conversation with those educators and say, you have to report this. You cannot do that to your colleagues and send this person along. I do also want to point out, there's not really going to be many people for them to text or go on social media to talk to, because everybody else is going to have their phones in their bag, so they're not going to get a response, So I do think that will also help. It's not like anybody else is going to have access to their phone either,
You also, the teacher wouldn't have to do that right away. Like you don't have to stop teaching and say, I'm going to call security and report you. Like at the end of the period, when that class is gone, an email to whomever saying so-and-so was on their phone, they didn't lock up their phone. And then you don't have a confrontation in class because you've reported it elsewhere.
Oh, and I drowned it out. How is the storage going to work? Is it going to be in a container? I've missed it.
Sorry, you know what? Because we did this in a subcommittee meeting and you weren't here. That's probably why. So you did miss that part. So it's a pouch, and you put all your stuff in this little pouch, and there's literally like a little button, and you just push the button and it locks it, and that's it. And then you put it in your backpack. Is that what you mean?
Okay. It's in
Yeah.
our bags.
Yeah, you're carrying it the whole time. We're not taking it away from you. It's your pouch. You have it for the whole year. And it's very easy. It's just a little button that they just push in.
Those are really everything else I could probably read through here, really fine details. I agree that phones are a distraction. I'm not discrediting that, and I feel like I've seen this on TikTok and stuff already, the Yonder pouches specifically, and I've seen that they've worked. my only issue is I've seen I'll say it with my school bathroom. The third floor girls' bathroom always gets shut down because of other people's wrongdoing, and I always get pet peeved because I never do anything wrong. And I feel like a bunch of other students also get kind of punished for other people's wrongdoings instead of those people being called out. And I feel like even with the attendance policy, it affects me because I'm a junior, and I know seniors this year don't have it as harshly as everyone else, but the attendance policy, I'll say, for example, kids who want to skip don't really care that much about the punishment. They're going to continue to skip or find a way around it. Like there's the saying, strict parents make sneakier kids. I feel like that'll only give them more of a sentiment to continue using their phones, use a burner phone, sneak their watches in, go to the bathroom or something just to get a dopamine hit out of using their phones. And again, I agree that phones are a distraction, but I do find it kind of annoying because I know I don't use my phone that much. I only use it during my study periods because, again, I care about paying attention in class. But I feel like those kids who will use their phones or will skip class will just continue to do so, and it's just making it a harsher punishment for kids who don't use their phone at all or won't be able to use it during study time.
I definitely appreciate that. And I also have a current Quincy Public Schools high school student who lives in my house, and let me tell you, he's probably watching right now, and he's not so happy with me. So I have for sure heard that. I am not a very popular member of my family right now, but I think, and I hear what you're saying about the punishment, but I think that yes, in some instances, right, this will involve punishment for kids who violate it. But this is actually a little bit bigger than that. And the reason that we're doing this is because there are a whole host of kids, and I'm so happy to hear that you don't do this, that are not focusing in class and that are spending the whole time. And we're hearing that from the educators across the board. And maybe it doesn't happen in your classes, but it happens in a lot. And this is about, from me, and I think for our team, this is also about kids' mental health, right? And so I think that, people are relying on phones, cyberbullying, all the negative social media and all of the other things that happen on cell phones. And if it hasn't happened to you, I think you are a very lucky person. But we deal with it, unfortunately, all the time. And it's not about punishing the kids who are doing the right thing. It's about making a better culture and a better school environment for everyone so that kids are talking to each other, kids are socializing, kids don't need to rely on their phones. So I hear what you're saying, and from a kid's perspective, I know I can understand why you view it as a punishment, but we're really not doing it as a punishment. We're doing it to change the climate and the culture of our high schools and to make it a social place where kids interact and don't need a phone, in order to feel welcome or included or social or safe or all of the things that kind of negative things that come along with basically addiction to phone usage. No,
Thank
great
you.
questions.
Quincy High student representative?
Sorry. Yeah.
You might need to use her.
Switch mics.
Just push it over. Oh, you can hear it, yeah. Yeah. They can hear it in there.
So thank you for the presentation. My only thoughts on this, I feel like it may be too drastic of a change, because so far we haven't had anything regarding phones. You could technically use it in a class as long as the teacher doesn't catch you. I know people have been doing it. I haven't seen it a lot in my classes personally, but I know it happens in other classes. I understand why you guys are trying to prevent it. It's a distraction, I agree. But I feel like it'll just have a lot of opposition from the students. They're gonna find a way to get around it, as Louisa said. I feel like it's just a really drastic change when maybe it could be done slower, maybe just banning it or having pouches or something. I'm not exactly sure, but during instructional time, allowing it during passing periods, lunch, definitely dismissal, all of those times, studies, because yeah, I feel like it'll just be a better like alternative. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I think what you probably don't know is that that's our current policy. So that's actually what's supposed to be happening right now. And so you just actually highlighted for us why we do, unfortunately, do need to do this, because it's not happening, right? The policy, what you just said, is our actual policy right now today and has been our policy for a couple of years. And it's not happening, right? So clearly it's not happening. And so that's why we really feel strongly. And we know we're going to get some pushback from kids. We expect it. You know, I absolutely expect it, that we are not going to be very popular adults for a little bit. But we do think that it will, you know, it will be okay and we will all survive and maybe even be a little bit better for it in the end.
I think a lot better for it. I think the kids who complain the most about this will be the ones who will benefit the most from it.
Mr. Bergoli?
Yeah, to your point, I think we're talking a lot about the high school level. I think our focus should be also on the middle school, because that's where you're going to train the kids. And when you get to the high school, it's just going to be, okay, we did this in middle school, and
That's the hope.
it's going to continue the same way we did in middle school, so it's not a big deal. And we're trying to make it a big deal, because if we don't enforce it in the middle school and have those parameters, then it's going to be a struggle to do it at the high school, cold turkey. So I just think that's a point I wanted to make.
We absolutely agree, Mr. Begoli, and that is why we felt strongly about adding the middle school to the policy.
Thank you.
All set. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like accountability is a big theme through the policy, which I get. I appreciate. Mrs. Perdios?
Sorry, I just had two quick ones. One, Liuza, is that how you pronounce it? Louisa, I'm sorry, brought up about field trips. So some of the field trips the kids go on, I mean, I know, like, didn't a few of them just go to the State House or something? Or so you may want your phone to take some photos. Like, that's the only thing I worry, you know, I mean, back in the day when we didn't have phones, we would bring a camera, right? So what do we do? There are no, like, disposable cameras that kids are going to bring. So are we going to allow them to take some photos on field trips? I mean, they've always have since we were kids. You could take photos on field trips. I feel like maybe that might need to be a little more fleshed out about.
Cameras still exist, so they're harder
I mean,
to find.
you can't make a group of kids, you know.
And the teacher will probably have a phone that will take photos.
I don't know, that I think maybe we could allow some photos on field trips, maybe not, I don't know. I think that might be something you want to look at, because these are
think we
some
could talk
experience
about
that these
that, yeah.
kids are only going to get, you know, once or twice on some of these things, and that might be something really important to them, to be able to remember that. So I think maybe we should rethink that one a little bit. And then are we going to number the pouches or something, so that if a pouch gets dropped on the way or outside the building and a kid says, I lost my pouch, if we number them, if everyone had a number, they like Sharpied on there or something, it could be like pouch number 89 or whatever belongs to this person, and they lost a pouch, so here you are.
Yeah, we weren't going to do that, but we will have extra pouches. So that's part of like what we've talked about is having so many extra pouches. I don't think I think because if someone picks up a pouch, it's just going to go into the bin with all the other pouches, and someone says, I dropped my pouch, they're going to give them a pouch.
But don't they have to pay $30 for a new pouch?
If they dropped it and and someone found it and we knew that they found it, then they would just give them the pouch, you know. So I don't think it's necessary to number them.
I just think like the Chromebooks, we keep track of that. So if you lose your Chromebook, you know whose it was. And if we're going to have kids paying for things and whatnot, it just seems like maybe it might be a good tracking system.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
we can certainly ask like
okay.
the Taunton or the vendor like what happens in those instances, and and see how they handle it, and maybe make a recommendation about what we
I
should do. with
think
that.
in Holbrook, they number them. So it might be another school district to look at.
Yeah.
I know they have
Yep.
significantly less kids, but still, the numbering system seems to work for them. That's where that idea came from. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we can
I'm
take a
sorry.
look at it.
I think to that point, I think I remember online seeing yonder pouches used in a school system. Might have actually been Holbrook, where they took a picture of them and they were numbered. So that
Okay.
does sound very familiar to me
Yeah,
as well.
we can absolutely take a look at it and see what makes the most sense.
Okay, Ms. Campbell.
My sense is there's obviously going to be some growing pains. and that you will all look at this and make modifications and adjustments where you need to.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, North Quincy High School.
When will it be implemented?
Next year.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
All right, all set? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you have another question?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, they're going in the bag. Yeah.
Don't even bring them.
Okay, next item on the agenda is old business B, 2026-27 school committee meeting calendar for discussion. This is this calendar with the meeting dates on it with the agenda. Does anybody have any discussion on this calendar? Okay, seeing none, moving on. Next item on the agenda, we have the 2026-27 QPS school year calendar, which is this calendar right here, which I'm thankful to Ms. Owens for making the changes on it that I had requested, putting in the actual dates of the holidays that, or federal holidays that we take off for President's Day and Patriots' Day. They weren't written in before, and writing in the staff professional development as written out, which I had requested to make it more clarifying for parents to understand if they didn't understand what PD meant. That way it would be easier. Does anybody have any discussion on this calendar? Mr. Leong?
I have a comment. So for the last few years in Quincy, no discussion on the school calendar would be complete without debating the issue of recognizing Lunar New Year as a school holiday. Every year, people would submit letters and speak at open forum asking that Quincy join the likes of Boston, Lexington, and Brookline and recognize this culturally significant holiday. And every year, the school committee has voted no. We've heard all the reasons they give for denying it, so I won't list them here. But one reason given is that it would be inequitable. In fact, I asked the policy subcommittee to consider designating Lunar New Year with an H on this calendar, and it did not get out of subcommittee with the reason given that it would be inequitable. I do not question those school committee members, past and present, in their conviction that it would be inequitable to recognize Lunar New Year as a school holiday. But as sure and as dug in that they are right, I am just as certain that I am right, that it is inequitable to deny Lunar New Year as a school holiday in Quincy. My family celebrates Lunar New Year. I went through Quincy Public Schools as an Asian American. I have 3 kids going through Quincy Public Schools now as Asian Americans. So I know about equity issues. I'm in favor of Quincy Public Schools recognizing Lunar New Year as a holiday by closing the schools on that day. But that is a discussion for next year. This year, for the 26-27 school calendar, Lunar New Year falls on a Saturday. When we vote on this calendar at the next school committee meeting, I will propose an amendment to designate Lunar New Year with an H on the published calendar. This is a small, costless gesture that the school committee has full discretion over. It's one letter, but it's about recognition, respect, and representation.
Anyone else? Mrs. Partios?
I 100% agree. I will absolutely be voting in support of having an H on Lunar New Year. Just because it's on a Saturday, we have H's during a vacation week, and there's no reason that we can't. We have full authority to put an H on a weekend if we want. So I absolutely would support that. I mean, as we heard tonight, we had teachers, QPS teachers, students, QPS students, parents, grandparents, people of Asian descent, people of not Asian descent. How many years do we need to hear from a line full of people that this is impactful every single year, tearfully sharing with us what this means to their family? And we have a majority of the students that are Asian American. I don't know what we're doing. I have no idea why we continuously do not do this. This will be the 3rd year I vote in support of it. I have no idea why we can't get there. And I'm hopeful this year will be the year we can. So full support, Mr. Leon.
Thank you. Ms. Campbell?
I give my full support as well. Mr. Leong, I think this is the 5th year for me that I have engaged in this discussion. And I think it's an important opportunity to recognize and celebrate the AAPI community of Quincy. I mean, we hear it every year, and I think I am in full support of that.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one else? Seeing no other discussion, moving on. Okay, go right ahead, Ms. Perdios.
Sorry about that. Not on Lunar New Year, but just as a correction or just something to put on there. Oh, I'm sorry, this is actually the next item. I'm sorry. Next item, I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda is the proposal revision to School Committee Policy, Section 9.4, School Day. Mrs. Perdios?
Sorry, I referred to the calendar. That's what my mistake was. So on this policy, we indicate that, and I'm in the wrong one here. We indicate that middle school students are released on the second, under early release days. Middle school students are released on the second and fourth Wednesdays of each month, and the high school students are released on the second Wednesday of the month. From September through May, and also the fourth Wednesday of January. That actually doesn't align with the way the calendar works for 2026, 2027. In September and November, it's actually the 3rd and the 5th. For September, it would be the 3rd and the 5th for middle school Wednesdays, and in November, it would be the 3rd and 4th Wednesdays of the month. And similarly, in high school, it would be the 3rd Wednesday in September and November. So I just don't know why we have to specify, because of the way the calendar falls, I don't know why we have to specify it's the 2nd and 4th, or why we just can't say, according to that year's schedule, that year's calendar, those will be, or just the frequency or something. Do we have to say specifically it's the 2nd and 4th, because it's actually incorrect? So voting on this policy feels like we're voting on an incorrect thing. So I just wanted to get maybe the superintendent's thoughts on that.
Do you want to address
Yeah,
this?
so in those months, there's specific reasons. We don't want to have the first day of school, which is the second Wednesday in September, be a half day for middle and high school. And then in November, I believe the alteration is because Veterans Day is a Wednesday this year. The last sentence of the policy says the early release day schedule may be modified at the superintendent's discretion with the approval of the school committee. And so that this section of the policy is existing with was existing with the changing of the Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and it matches, I believe, the contractual language. Also, I get Gail and Aaron nodding at me also. So it matches the contractual language. So I mean, again, it's up to you whether that's you want to leave it like that or you want to change it further.
I think if it matches the contractual language, we should leave alone. So,
Okay.
and if that last line covers us, then I think we're good to go on that then.
So every year, like this year, January was off the schedule because it fit with the marking periods, and that's when the teacher conferences had to happen. So, yeah, every year there usually is a little variation. There's usually at least 1 month where it's not exactly that.
And the approval, it says with the approval of the school committee, the approval of us is the approval of the calendar? Is that the thing that, okay, all right. As long as, like I say, as long as we're not putting in a policy that I feel like we already can see that it's not happening this year like that, okay.
That last sentence.
Okay,
prevents it, right?
okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Nope, okay, moving on. All right, we did new business A. So the next item on the agenda is Ms. Perdios has school committee policy book section 9.7.3 physical education for referral to policy and to athletics and wellness subcommittees.
So if I could just speak on that for a minute, just so everyone knows why we're referring it. It's actually fantastic news that we are, for multiple years, I feel like I've heard parents ask about, why does my student have to take phys ed if they're in a high school sport, if they're on a high school sports team? And we have found out confirmation that we do not have to have that. So if a student wants to keep taking phys ed, absolutely they're able to. But if they participate in a full season of a high school sport, they will be able to get a waiver and not have to take phys ed. So they could use that time as a study, assuming that, there's a lot of time that students spend on the bus and at an athletic activity, so it will give them a little extra time to study if they want that. or the phys ed if they want a little extra exercise. So it's fantastic news. I'm really excited about it, and I'm really glad that we can refer it. And I'd be happy to have that be a subcommittee of the whole if anybody else not on the subcommittee wanted to be part of that discussion.
Yeah, per our legal advice, we're going to keep that as policy meeting and then also have an athletics meeting and keep it separate.
Okay?
So, so moved. Next on the agenda, we have consent agenda. We need a roll call vote. We need a motion and a second. We have a motion by Ms. Cahill, second by Mr. Begoli. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Mr. Begoli? Yes. Mrs. Cahill?
Yes.
Ms. Campbell? Yes. Mrs. Hubley?
Yes.
Mr. Leon? Yes. Mrs. Perry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So additional business, we have none. Under communications. Communications, all meetings are in the Coddington Building School Committee Room except for May 6th, which will be held at City Hall. Upcoming school committee meetings at 6:30 on May 6th and May 6th and 20th and June 10th. Upcoming subcommittee meeting, there is a teaching and learning listed here on April 19th, but that is going to be rescheduled. So we will let you know when that's going to be rescheduled too. Next on the agenda, we have reports of subcommittees. The policy subcommittee from April 1st, Ms. Cahill.
Report from subcommittees is we did review and amended 3 different policies, which we talked about tonight. The revision to the school committee policy for the cell phone electronic device policy, the school committee calendar policy, the school calendar, and the revision to the school committee policies. So there's really not much to discuss other than what we just spoke about tonight.
Okay, were there any corrections to these minutes for Mrs. Owens?
Nope.
Seeing none, thank you. Next on the agenda is executive session. I don't believe we have any tonight. So we're moving on to adjournment. So can I have a motion to adjourn
Motion.
by Ms. Cahill, seconded by Mr. Bergoli? All in favor? Thank you. Have a great night. Thank you very much.